All right, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Yet Another Movie Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Shane Wallach, and I'm with...
Sean Higgins.
Yes. And if you hadn't guessed by the title and the intro, we are talking about shark movies.
Woo!
Because, well, I guess there's a couple loose tie-ins. It's the 42nd anniversary of Jaws, everybody.
Yay!
Woo! The big 42nd. That's what everyone looks forward to.
Well, okay, it's summer, and Shark Week is going on around this
August?
time. No, Shark Week's in the middle of summer, isn't it?
August.
I never watched Shark Week.
I watched
don't know.
it
I'm totally
a lot.
guessing.
I thought it was like the first or second week of August. I could be
I
wrong.
could have swore I always
long.
see stuff around this time. I haven't seen any of this year,
August is
admittedly,
summer, you know.
No, I'm aware, but I always see it around this time.
Okay, I don't know.
Doesn't matter.
I don't watch TV.
You know what? It's summer. It's warm outside. People are going to the beach. It's the perfect time to talk about shark movies.
And a new shark movie just came out.
Yes.
Which is probably like the biggest reason. Yes. Okay, so today, just to get it out there, we are going to talk about 3 different shark movies. Very different shark movies.
Very different.
But we kind of wanted to lean more towards the quote-unquote serious side of shark movies. So we won't be touching Deep Blue Sea.
Unfortunately, not Deep Blue Sea. We will also not be touching Sharknado today, but
no.
Maybe some other time.
Maybe another time. But we're going to be talking about 3 shark movies. Starting it off, we're going to talk about the original classic, Jaws. Yes, basically the shark movie, if you want to say it. Then we're going to jump to way ahead and jump to The Shallows, which is a movie that came out last year. And then finally, we're going to end off with 47 Meters Down, the brand new movie that just came out last weekend. So, yeah. All right. So, the best place to start is with the classic, like we do. So,
yeah, this a little known classic from 1975, Jaws, that became a giant hit. So I guess I'm starting this one off because I am a huge fan of this movie. It is one of my all-time favorite movies. I saw this movie back when I was like 10 years old for the first time. And it basically formed my love of film from then on. It was a very formative film for me in so many ways. Not only loving older films, but horror films, getting into classics. And really, even though I'd seen E.T., and knew about Jurassic Park, my real introduction to Steven Spielberg and his filmography, basically. I became a huge Spielberg fan and am to this day.
Which is interesting, because I'll bring that up later. But
okay.
But, yeah, so that's how you got introduced to the movie.
Oh,
yeah. We always start with how we came upon the movie. So, for me... Yeah, I've only seen this movie twice.
Wow.
The first, well, okay, there is a story behind it. So my dad saw the movie when he was like 12 or 13 years old. Just came out. So he saw it like, well, he would have been, let's see, because it came out in 75. Mm-hmm. So he was born in 59. So I guess he would have been like 16.
Okay.
He saw it in theaters, I think. Everybody saw it in theaters back then.
Yeah.
It was the first blockbuster. We'll get into that.
First summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but he warned me. He's like, Shane, you'll never want to go in the water after you watch this movie. And I believed him because I knew I heard this movie was
have
scary.
Stories, so we'll get to those, I suppose.
So I stayed away, but then I got into horror when I was around 15, 16 in high school. And Jaws eventually came up on my watch list, so I eventually did watch it. I was pretty old though. I was 17 or 18 when I finally did see it. But I really liked it. And then I just never had a chance to revisit it. Even last year when The Shallows came out, I just didn't have time. But now, this was a great opportunity for me to go back and see the movie again. And yeah, so that's kind of my history of Jaws. Obviously less expansive than yours. But...
Oh, yeah. I've seen this movie at least 50 times. I've seen this movie a lot. And I've watched behind the scenes features for fun a lot. Again, it's been an inspirational film. It's up there with New Hope in the sense of inspiring me in my love of film and growing up film knowledge.
So this will be a fun discussion. So Sean, you have some production information you want to go over.
Yes.
So we don't have to go through all of it. We can go through it while we're discussing the film. But
yeah,
any
especially because
background?
I have a few pages, not to mention what I just know by heart.
So background on Jaws.
Sure.
What was the history?
Well, this actually first began as a novel by a first-time writer, Peter Benchley, who wrote it, it was released in 1974. Quickly became a bestseller, but before it was a bestseller, it actually was started going into a pre-production on the film. And funny enough, and several things were actually changed from the book to the film, and honestly, a lot of them, if not all of them, I agree with. And I think I'm going to make this bold statement right here, and I think it's a fair statement. This is one of the rare times when the movie is better than the book. Because most people will always tell you the book is better, the book is better. I challenge anyone to say that about the book.
Have you read the book?
I actually read it when I was a kid.
Okay.
I probably shouldn't have, because there are some very adult things in it, including a sensuous adultery subplot with Matt Hooper and Ellen Brody. I'm not kidding. Matt Hooper is actually a huge pile of crap in the book. He's a college student, like they say in the movie.
Well, they kind of hint at he's rich. He comes from a rich background.
That is in the movie, but he's really egotistical in the book.
They must have really changed that.
Yeah, and Ellen actually was also from a rich background, but she settled for Brody. And basically she's missing her old lifestyle of being rich. And so she has this fling with Hooper. And Brody doesn't know, but, it's one of those he doesn't know, but he knows it's going on. Okay. And another thing that happens in the book, which is okay because Hooper's horrible, he dies. When he goes into the shark cage, he doesn't come back out. He doesn't.
Spoiler alert.
Off. We spoiled The Mummy. I'm assuming spoiler alert. I'm sorry. Spoiler alert for the book and the movies, okay?
Yes.
If you haven't seen Jaws, please see it. If you haven't seen the book, I understand. Or read the book, I understand. But anyway, he dies, and Brody's, of course, happy. Quint is another character. He doesn't have as much character as he does in the movie. He's just more of a salty, old sea, fisherman who just knows the water. And he's basically Moby Dick, but, doesn't really have a reason for wanting to kill the shark. Unlike in the movie where they give him the Indianapolis stuff, that was all written for the movie, not in the book at all.
Okay.
And yeah, Roy Scheider's the only kind of Brody is the only kind of likable.
You can use the actor's name.
I guess I can. That's true.
It's funny because Roy Scheider is most well known for this movie, so.
Mm-hmm. That and French Connection, which is why he got this role, actually.
I love French Connection.
That's a great film, yes. But essentially what I'm saying is there were changes, and they were good changes, including the ending, which I guess I can get to later. But,
well, we can talk more about that,
Sure.
After we talk about the plot, but
basically...
how'd the movie come about?
Yeah, the producers, Richard Zanuck and David Brown, they picked up a copy of the book when it was first being released, and they loved it. They read it, and Steven Spielberg had worked with them on his first feature film, Sugarland Express, which is kind of like a Bonnie and Clyde-esque movie. Mm-hmm. Two, lovers on the run from the law kind of thing. And that was his first theatrical film. He'd made one other movie called Duel, which was a TV movie, which was kind of similar to Jaws, except for it's about a truck chasing a driver, and you never see the truck driver, so that in that way it's... Spielberg considers it close to Jaws, and I kind of get what he's saying. Okay. It's a pretty solid movie, actually. I recommend it. But, basically he read the book too and was like, hey, are you guys making this into a movie? Could I direct it? And probably the best decision for his career that he ever made.
The first real blockbuster.
Yeah, no kidding. And then he brought, Peter Benchley actually wrote a first draft of the script, and because he was a first-time novelist, and was certainly not a screenwriter, it wasn't the greatest, so he brought in Howard Sackler, who was a known screenwriter. He's uncredited, though, because he was like, I can only do one draft, don't bother crediting me. And then he brought in another writer, Carl Gottlieb, who never went on to do a lot else, unfortunately. He wrote The Jerk, the Steve Martin movie, after this, and then he wrote Jaws 2, and he co-wrote Jaws 3. Think of that what you will, but his script here is great.
Okay.
And, funny thing, actually, one of the key scenes, the Indianapolis sequence that I mentioned earlier, was originally written by Howard Sackler, and it was really short. Then they brought in John Milius to do a rewrite, who worked on Dirty Harry. He worked on Hunt for Red October, Apocalypse Now.
Again, any sort of detailed plot stuff we'll get into when we're talking about the movie itself.
But then Robert Shaw was like, hey, can I take a crack on it? And he wrote the final draft, so that's kind of cool. But, other stuff, they shot in Martha's Vineyard, which is an East Coast, seaside, small town. Wasn't really well known.
Island, actually.
Or it's an island, that's right.
Just like in the movie.
In the movie.
The island of Amity is the same deal. You can only access it by boat. It's the same. It's basically Martha's Vineyard shot on screen. It's literally the same island, just renamed. So.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of on my bucket list. That's like one of the places I want to visit.
Well, Martha's Vineyard is really well known because a lot of presidents visit there. A lot of famous people visit there. It's a huge vacation destination on the East Coast.
That's true.
It's very.
It got even more press because of this movie, though, for sure.
Good or bad?
Good, depending if you look at it a certain way. But yeah, that's true. And here's a fun fact that I found out. This is the first film to ever be filmed on the sea. Like, majority on the sea. Maybe you'd have like a scene on a boat every once in a while, but like first major film, because most of the time they would shoot on the back lot on a man-made lake.
You mean physically on
the sea? Yes.
Okay.
Also, obviously, the first time there was an animatronic in the sea they were filming with, which leads to tons of problems when filming. We'll get into later. But yeah, it's fascinating that all these things came together, and fortunately they worked out to make this great film. But let's get into the movie.
Yeah, so you want to just go through it? Because this movie is a fairly straightforward film. It's not going to be that hard to go through, but it might help here. So, start us off, Sean. You can lead this.
Okay, the movie starts off with how a lot of horror movies start off with, actually. A teenage or a college couple having...
Well, no, it's interesting because it starts off in the water.
In the water.
We get shots of the POV, which is established right off the bat.
Right. Yeah.
We get the POV shots, which is kind of interesting, and you get the score.
You get the score right away, and I love that.
And actually, the score is used more there than it is even used later when she's getting eaten. You get the majority of that bonum. That most of that is actually in that first little bit.
It's a fun fact about that score. This was
John Williams had.
John Williams, of course, he won the best original score for that.
The first
score,
time,
obviously, for the first time.
He's won.
He's won many times after.
Yeah.
But a lot for Spielberg movies. But this was the second time he worked with Spielberg. He worked with him on Sugar Land Express. And when he went to John Williams to hear the score, he was like expecting this grandiose
Spielberg didn't like the score.
He didn't like the score at all.
But then he said that he heard it again, and he heard it again, and he heard it again, and he's like, oh, I'm starting to get what he's going for here.
Yeah.
He actually laughed the first time he heard it.
He thought it was a joke. He thought he was like pranking him.
Yeah.
Which is really funny.
But it works. It really works, and that's why it's so iconic even today.
Yeah, it's kind of it feels very primal. It's a very primal score. It's just two notes. It's so simple, but it just really gets under your skin. And
you have
if you hear that when you're in the water,
and it speeds up, and then you got the French horn going up. Yeah, which is very simple, but it works. And that's what's so great about it, I think. We'll get.
But yeah. So we get that great POV, and then we get to what a lot of horror movies do. A couple of kids go off in the water. We presume to have sex, because that's how horror movies work. But this
because she's just like, oh, I want to go swimming, and he's like drunk as...
Oh, he's
drunk off his ass.
He passes out on the beach, man. Yeah. He doesn't even make it in the water. Lucky him.
He is wasted. So...
hey, sometimes beer saves lives. No.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But then it's the iconic scene. She goes out swimming and she gets attacked by a shark.
And we don't see anything. All we see is her being dragged and her screaming.
But
and that
is more use of the POV from the shark's perspective.
But that is more intense than I think it would have been had they been able to show the shark. It is way more intense. Just seeing her.
Well, it works really well because it's kind of like that mystery factor. Like, what is this? What is causing this type thing?
It gives me the chills just seeing it even to this day. Like, it's so scary. It's horrifying. And it's how you would experience it if something grabbed you underwater. You didn't see what it was, but, it would be painful.
It's definitely, iconic for a reason, I think. It's probably one of the greatest movie openings of all time because you get that. I think I compare it a lot, personally, in my mind, to Halloween. With the POV, with the reveal,
definitely.
With I don't know if John Carpenter was.
He was more influenced by a movie called Black Christmas that came out the year before this.
Well, maybe Black Christmas was influenced by.
That was the first point of view.
Okay.
In a horror movie that I can think of.
Except Jaws.
No, it came out before Jaws.
Oh, really?
Came out the year before.
74. Oh, okay. I thought you said 70. One in one ear, out the other. Sorry. Okay, so maybe Spielberg was influenced by Black Christmas. Who knows?
Or maybe that's a coincidence.
It could just be a
Possibly,
coincidence.
but yeah, that was the first one I can identify.
Okay, yeah,
For
because
sure.
that was it worked really well here. So absolutely. So then we get to meet our protagonist, Martin Brody.
Yep. Martin Brody waking up. He is a New York cop who has moved to this Amity Island. He's lived here only a few months. And
He hates water.
He hates water. He is afraid as hell of water, which is a great little tidbit. I'm trying to remember if he's afraid of water in the book.
He has the least reason of our three protagonists to hate water, which is I thought so funny.
Let's bring them up now, even though they're going to come up more later. Hooper loves water because he's an oceanographer, and he
became an oceanographer because he was attacked by a shark. His boat was eaten by a shark. True. And Quint is
terrified of water.
Is on the USS Indianapolis and went through that.
Well, we'll get to that scene because I want to talk about that.
But I'm just saying,
scene.
It's funny that Brody is the one that's afraid of the water, even though those two.
Quint is terrified of the water, but he shows it in a different way.
I'm saying, but it's funny that he's so afraid when those two have much more reason to be. That's all I'm saying.
No, I understand. There's no reason given. It's just like
he just doesn't
possibly natural fear of water.
Yes.
We don't know.
But yeah, so he had moved his whole family out, and he gets a phone call.
Yep, that some woman disappeared out on the water last night. And so he goes, he meets the guy who was drunk, who's probably having a hangover right now, I'm sure, although he doesn't say it. He says he passed out, but he doesn't say why. And then they find the remains of Chrissy, who's the girl's name, on the beach. And that is really creepy because all you see is a hand. Other horror movies like, say, Texas Chainsaw Massacre may show you a little bit more. But they just show you a hand sticking out of the sand and crabs crawling on it, which is really creepy.
Well, it leaves a lot to the imagination, which is kind of, it's effective because you're imagining a lot of nastiness. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, later we'll get to, we actually go back to her body, and we'll talk about that.
Oh, yes. I love that scene, too.
So then they originally instantly think it's a shark attack.
Yep.
And the medical examiner looks at the body, agrees, and says, this is a shark attack. And
so Brody's like, we need to close the beaches, make some beach close signs. But then comes Murray Hamilton, the mayor.
The mayor.
And
who says, basically, you can't close the beaches. We're a tourist destination, and you're causing panic. And
well, his reasoning is, if this is a shark attack, it was probably a fluke. Which in real life, it would probably be a fluke. It's...
Well, essentially, I think he's very much motivated by, he doesn't want to cause a panic, which I guess you can understand at this point, that causing a panic would be very...
It's one person.
Out of the interest of the town. Although Brody, is just reacting how he would just want to save lives. He wants to do what he can to save people. But eventually, he's convinced.
He's like, okay, I won't say anything. I'll just whatever. Probably's nothing. Puts it out of his head. He goes to the beach with his family, and he is paranoid. He is watching that water.
Not only that, the medical examiner.
Oh, the medical examiner instantly backs away.
Backs off and says it's a boating accident instead.
This dude was bought off or convinced or something.
I think the mayor just talked to him, and then they instantly changed the cause of death to
boating accident. Yeah.
Or just a million of things could have happened. It didn't necessarily have to be a shark.
Why is there a moth flying around down here? I don't know, but sorry about that.
Okay, that was weird. We're just in a creepy basement.
Suddenly, Mothman prophecies just happened.
Okay, where were we? Oh, yeah. So then, possibly one of my favorite scenes in the movie, a popular day at the beach. Yes. A lot of people are at the beach, right? And Brody's there, and he's keeping a close eye on the water.
I love how Spielberg cut this scene because you see someone in the water and then someone will walk past the camera, and that's where the cut is. So it would kind of feel like it's one long shot of the beach.
Yeah.
But it's really just so every time when you watch the movie, every time someone walks across the camera, that's where the cut is. Was this really neat way to do it. And there's someone's low down in the water and he thinks, could that be the shark? And then they surface and no, it's just someone's head ducking underwater, or a girl screams, but no, it's just her boyfriend messing with her. So it's like, okay, maybe it's nothing at all. There's a guy playing with his dog. Oh wait, his dog suddenly disappears.
There's there's a lot of like fake outs where he sees yes. like her crying or like screaming, and it's like, oh, she's just they're just horsing around, and you can tell there's a lot of tension with Brody. He's just looking for her and watching.
He's so paranoid this thing's going to come back, which he should be, because it does come back. And we get early on in the scene, actually the first thing that happens in the scene is this little boy named Alex Kittner goes out on his raft. And we see him in the background for most of the scene. We kind of forget he's there almost. It's just kind of like, yeah, I'm going out on the water, Mom. Bye. Turns out that's the last time he'll ever say anything to his mom, because he gets taken by the shark in a terrifying scene. This is something I noticed about this movie. There are two taboos in horror films, and most films, but especially horror. Don't kill the dog, you don't kill the kid. Both happen in the same scene in this movie.
Kills the dog off screen.
Off screen, but we know the dog is dead.
And the boy, it's a little bit more graphic. We do see some blood, and we do see the raft and the remains of that.
Yeah, we see the kid being dragged under, and then this great Hitchcock invented the push and pull shot, I believe.
Yes.
Okay.
If he
didn't
utilized
invent it well.
Very popularized it.
Yes, he utilized it well in Vertigo and several of his other movies. But it's that shot where you see Brody and kind of the background widens, or how is the best way to describe it?
You're going to zoom out as you move the camera in.
Okay.
Which makes the effect of either the background closing in or opening up around the subject.
And it gives a weird feel that's just...
It's unsettling.
Yeah, it's unsettling, which is perfect for this moment. And it's just that realization of, holy crap, something just happened. And so...
Well, it's a fantastic shot, and it was used so well, and it's one of the most iconic uses of it, because you know exactly, what he's seeing. And then there's the scramble, get everyone out of the water, everyone's running out, it's panicking and crazy, and then finally everyone gets out except...
Is you just see the mother calling for her kid.
Yeah, she actually she walks to the front, and then she's just
like,
calling...
Alex, and it's so sad.
It's pretty dark stuff. So then one more fatality has happened. Now this is the point where there's a pattern, right?
Yeah.
So
they know this was not an isolated incident. They know that this shark probably a shark, seems to be hunting people, or at the very least,
so there is a
danger.
Yeah, there's a town meeting, and they're trying to decide what to do.
Yep.
So the Roy Scheider he basically says, we're closing the beaches. Sorry.
And everyone is pissed.
Upset.
They're all upset about it, because, that's their economy. It's like, basically, the summertime is when Amity makes money. It's like if I guess I'm trying to think of a real life situation to compare it to, I guess, because I keep thinking like big, like vacation places.
Well, you don't need to compare it to anything. It's pretty easy to understand.
Yeah, pretty basic. But then we get introduced to our second main character, Quint, played by Robert Shaw.
Captain Quint, yes. Who basically says, pay me $10,000, I'll kill the shark for you.
Yep.
And then everyone's like, okay, weirdo. Go away.
I love the nails on the chalkboard. What a great entrance
I had to close my eyes and plug my ears. It's terrible. It made me react physically.
It's cringy, but it's great.
I guess that's a great way how to get people's attention, though.
Yeah. So here's a fun fact about Quint's character. Initially, Spielberg wanted Lee Marvin to play him.
Okay.
Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, Dirty Dozen. But he was unavailable. So he went to Sterling Hayden, who was known for Dr. Strangelove and The Godfather. Yep. Another interesting pick. Would have probably been good, but he was also unavailable. Robert Shaw had worked on the movie The Sting a couple years before with Rick Zanuck and David Brown. And they were like, hey, he'd be great for this role. Spielberg, why don't you try him out? And Robert Shaw agreed if they could shoot it in a couple months. That didn't work out, but I guess he stuck around. So
he was stuck. Yeah, Robert Shaw, we'll just talk about him for a second, because he's probably best known for this movie, but he was in From Russia with Love, which I know him from a lot, and The Sting, as you just mentioned. Yeah. But he is I couldn't imagine anybody else playing Quint.
Oh, gosh.
He is so great as this just mysterious, off-kilter, half insane captain who hunts sharks. And
salty sea dog fisherman.
His cabin is covered
I
in
love the
jaws
design of his cabin.
of sharks, and it's just so funny. It's great.
I love the design of that cabin, because as soon as you go in, you just know who this character is, and it's fascinating.
Yeah, we'll get there, but yeah, he's great.
Yes.
So yeah, essentially, they don't accept his offer at this point.
But,
however, the mother of Alex, right? Is that his kid's name? Alex?
Alex is the kid's name, yes.
His mother offers $3,000 to anyone who kills the shark, and they don't approve of this, but they're just like, well, that's out there. And then the mayor is like, okay, yeah, we'll close the beaches for 24 hours.
24 hours.
Then they're opening again.
24 hours is like 3 weeks. Did you catch that line? Could I love that line?
Yeah. They're mad that it's
only 24 hours.
Well, the funny thing is
Brody's
is
like, I didn't agree to that.
Only 24 hours? And everyone's like, oh, 24 hours is too much time. What the heck? Open them now.
It's great.
But then what happens is the town gets swarmed because all these people are coming in to get these.
Well, first we have the scene on the dock, I believe. Well, no.
Well, that's just an insert because I'm just saying, all of these people swarm into this town. They're trying to catch the shark.
Yep.
So these two bozos on a dock
one of them takes his wife's holiday roast and throws a hook in it, throws it in the water,
ties it to the dock, and like, all right, there we go.
And you know what? The shark gets it. He goes for it and
pulls the dock off.
And one of the guys off with it, and he starts swimming. And the dock is going away. The music gets lower. It's like, okay, you can barely hear it. Then all of a sudden, music starts getting higher as the dock turns around really slowly.
Well, because he's in the water and he's trying to swim back out. And luckily, I think it's important he gets away here because we need to know that as an audience that it can go either way. It's not just like, oh, this is just gonna. If
you get in the water, you're dead kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's nice to have the sort of.
Yeah, I think it's a good light.
It's
a light scene, and it's not. But it's not too light where it's like all of a sudden a comedy.
Yeah, it's funny though. It does work.
Right. But it doesn't go silly horror.
Did they say like, can we go now or can we
go home now?
After this almost near death encounter. Them. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the insert also where Brody's at home and he's just looking in a book about sharks, and it's just this great imagery to kind of clue the audience into like what a shark could do to someone, and these are like an actual book about real sharks and stuff.
Yeah, he's doing some research.
It's a nice little insert. Like, it wouldn't necessarily be necessary, but it's a nice insert. That
I like it because, it shows that he is concerned, and he cares about people. He's a good sheriff. I'd want him to be the sheriff or police chief of my town police, He's good at his job. But
he's been in the French Connection. I mean, he knows some stuff.
That's true. Yeah, very true. Okay, so then we get our introduction to our third protagonist.
Yes, Matt Hooper, played by Richard Dreyfuss,
who I love in this movie. It's perfect casting yet again. Richard Dreyfuss is just that perfect kind of. He has that kind of young, inexperienced look to him, and yet he does look like a sincere guy at the same time. So it's a good mix because. What you don't want from this type of character is that bumbling idiot who you get annoyed that he's there because he keeps screwing stuff up. He's not that. He knows, first of all, he knows his stuff. He knows obviously
a lot about sharks. He knows a lot about boats.
Yes, he knows a lot about both things. But he is young, so he's not experienced, and he doesn't have a lot of experience on the water, especially with sharks.
Which will add a lot of tension between him and Quint later on, which we'll talk about. But he was actually, he wasn't the first person like they auditioned Jeff Bridges. Actually, I found that out. That was interesting. I'm happy they didn't go with him. That'd be an interesting pick, though.
I think it worked out the way it did.
I think it works out better with Richard Dreyfuss. He initially turned it down because he was like, "This is going to be hell to shoot." Little did he know. But then he saw a movie he did called The Apprenticeship of Davy Kravitz, I believe, and he says he was terrible. And he knew he needed a job, or he was never going to act again. And so
very smart career move for him.
Spielberg, give me a job, basically.
That's funny.
So
that's great.
That's a nice little tidbit. But
he's excellent in this movie.
And like I mentioned earlier, I'm so happy they changed his character because he is Like, he's a likable guy. And
oh, yeah, you
him
like
and Brody
him.
get along a lot. You hate him in the book. You want him dead in the book.
Yeah, you like him and you want him to survive. You want all three of these guys to survive for
Yeah,
different
there's
reasons.
no one we're rooting against or kind of like,
No.
oh, God, get him off the screen or anything like that.
They're all interesting people with their own quirks, but we like them all.
Absolutely.
And, yeah, we're introduced to him, and...
His introduction is super sarcastic as he sarcastically talks to some of the fishermen. Well, some of the fishermen talk back to him in a rude way. They're like, well, you ain't going, man. What do you care? Like, you know, because he's trying to warn them, like, you're overflowing that boat.
You're going to
Yeah, you're going to drown.
Yeah.
Basically. And then he's like, okay, can you tell me where there's a nice hotel or a restaurant on the island? You walk straight ahead. And he walks away. They're all going to die. I love that.
Yeah, that's true. Sarcasm. Yeah, and then he meets Brody right away. He's like, I'm looking for Brody. And like, you're the guy we called. I'm Brody. And like, oh, cool. You know? And he is there essentially to advise them on sharks and to try and figure out what's going on. But what happens very soon after is they supposedly catch the shark.
Yeah. Well, first, there's the scene where they go to the coroner's office to see the remains of Chris.
Oh, yeah. We'll talk about that first. So Hooper wants to see the body to confirm whether or not it's a shark attack.
And there's not much left. It's in a little pink box.
Well, basically, we don't see it, but what we get to do is see Richard Dreyfuss's reaction to it.
And he's great in that scene.
Because he's portraying someone who's trying to keep calm and trying to be scientific, but you can see his youth and humanity coming through.
Yeah.
And he asks for water, and you feel like he's about to just...
You're like
puke any moment.
Yeah, exactly. You expect him to just throw
He starts
up.
sweating, and then after he analyzes, he actually puts water on his face.
I love the line where he just chastises Brody for smoking. Do not smoke in here. Thank you very much. It's like an off thing, just because he's so like grossed out already. He's like,
Yeah, but he does confirm that this is a shark attack, and it's from a big shark.
Big shark.
Yes.
But maybe they caught the shark. Let's see.
So they supposedly catch a shark. Was it
it's a tiger shark.
Tiger shark.
Oh, what? I love how he says that line.
Tiger shark, which is rare for these type of waters, and yes, it is predatory towards humans. However, he thinks it's too small. Hooper does, and he's unsure about it from the beginning.
Bite radius is off, is what he says.
But Brody is happy because he thinks it is the shark. So there's kind of this tension because he's like, well, the only way we can figure this out for sure is if we cut open the stomach and figure out whether or not there are human remains in there.
Yeah, you can certainly tell he's like, okay, just in case, let's do that. And
but then the mayor actually makes a pretty good point. He's like, we don't want the guts of an eaten child spilling out over the dock.
Well, yeah, we don't want to do it right then and there. Yeah.
It's weird that they're not like just because I was expecting them just to say, well, okay, we'll just do it in this building. They never said that.
They never really get to any thought like that because the mother of Alex Kintner walks up and slaps Brody in the face. Yes. And basically says, it's all your fault. You left the beaches open even though you knew there was a shark.
I heard about the shark. There was a girl that was attacked by a shark. You knew about this, and yet you let the beaches stay open.
And Brody's like, yeah, she's right. Basically. And it's a very sad moment.
It is.
It's really sad.
Yeah, it works really well.
You know, and it's interesting. You don't see that in a lot of horror movies. Like, the grieving of a parent or a family member to knowing the death of their...
Or the chastising of our protagonist.
I can think of a couple, like Halloween 2 does that, where the police chief finds out his daughter was killed by Michael, and then he chastised Donald Pleasance, his character. Mm-hmm. But not many others like that, where you get that human moment. And it's
it works.
Really sad. It's really a nice touch. And then we get this moment that I'm curious. I'm going to ask you, who do you think came up with the scene between the father and the son imitating each other? Where do you think that came from? I'm curious. Do you think that came from Spielberg? Because it feels like a Spielberg moment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Didn't come from him.
It was from the book?
It's from Roy Scheider.
Oh.
They were sitting around just gonna, like, between shots, and he started making faces, or started putting his hands together, like, fingers together, and the kids started imitating him. And he started doing it back and forth, and he went to Spielberg and was like, hey, come watch this. And then Spielberg was like, that's a good touch. Let's put that in the movie.
Which is funny, because it's one of my favorite things in the movie, because it establishes a relationship between Brody and his child, which is important later, because we need to see that he cares about his children. He loves his children. He loves his family. He wants to protect them. It's a very big character motivation for Brody.
Yeah.
Which, that's why this scene is great. It really establishes that.
Yeah, Spielberg, I don't know if he... It's interesting. I almost kind of wonder if that kind of formed some choices he made in later films, like to add that, or maybe that formed.
Was the kiss his idea too?
The kiss. I'm trying to. Oh,
he's
no,
like,
I don't think.
Because Roy Scheider's like, give me a kiss, and the kid's like, why? And he's like, because I need it.
It may have been Spielberg. That could have been.
So that was nice too, because it was
I think it was like a collaboration there, and yeah, that probably formed a lot of scenes in E.T., Jurassic Park, various things.
Well, it works really well in this movie.
Gets humanity to roar.
And then Lorraine Gray tries to have a moment with her husband, but lo and behold, Richard Dreyfuss just shows up and is like, I want to talk to your husband. And she's like, I do too. Which I love. So he sits down, and it's so awkward because he brings like wine over. He's like, I didn't know what you were eating. Are you eating that? Pulls the plate over, starts eating, and doesn't say anything else.
I love it so much. And then I love he pours the wine, and then Roy pours the wine for them.
Roy pours the wine and takes a regular cup.
And just fills it to
the whole thing.
And Richard's like, you may want to let that breathe out. Nothing. Never mind.
Yeah, never mind.
It's really funny.
Yeah, but essentially what he's saying is he wants to look in the stomach. This is what he wants to do. And
yeah, we also get to learn a bit about Hooper more, like who he is,
Yeah, and also, remember, he does say that I measured the mouth of the shark. It doesn't line up to the wounds. It wasn't the same shark.
At all, yeah.
But we'll make sure, and we'll cut open the stomach.
Yeah.
So that's
anything
that's
digested, it needs to, it'll take 24 hours, so,
Yeah.
It should show up. Something should show up if we cut it open.
Yeah, so then they do get to the shark, and then, they're like, can you do that? Isn't that the line, like, can you do that? And she's like, I can do anything. I'm the chief of police. So. I loved that, too.
And then that comes back in the next scene, because Hooper's like, we need to go take out a boat. We can't do that. Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
But before that, of course, they open up the shark, and they find a license plate, a few other
a license plate from, like,
couple fish.
From, what was it? What state was it? It was
like
from
Louisiana,
the river. Yeah, Louisiana, because they theorized that someone threw it in the river, and that the shark just came from far away.
From, like,
just
the Gulf
showed
or
up.
something. Yeah.
And that it wasn't probably the shark.
And they're like, there's no way this is the shark. So they're like, okay, let's go on the boat, see if we can get it on radar. And they go on Hooper's boat, and we find out he is rich and has a really nice boat. But
yeah, because he's like, I bought all this myself. Because he's like, who gives you money to do this?
Unlike the book, he's really... It's like he doesn't want to gloat about it. He's just kind of like, yeah, I'm rich.
He's like, I come from money, yeah. But, and then he's passionate about sharks. He wants to... He
seems like a down-to-earth guy, even though, yeah, he is. He does come from a different class than Brody or Quint does. That's for sure.
Yes. So then they come upon a boat, an abandoned boat
that
Brody recognizes and is like, hey, this is this guy's boat. And then Richard Dreyfuss is like, okay, I got to check it out. Which I was like terrified at the time. I'm like, no, yes. No, you don't.
No, you don't.
And like,
You're
it's
with
funny.
Brody, exactly.
Because
let's just throw it in.
And he's like, what am I supposed to do while I'm here? I'm like, oh, I'll just be back in a couple minutes. So he gets in the water. He sees massive gaping hole in the bottom of the boat, which is I was trying to figure out why the boat wasn't sinking. Maybe it was a reason that I didn't understand.
I never really thought about that too much. I mean, yeah, it's there, but I guess I was like, maybe it's buoyant. I don't know. Maybe
I just didn't understand.
But
tiny little
here's
thing.
The thing: it works because this is where he finds a shark too, which he later says is a great white. However, he instantly drops it because
he sees
the first corpse. Jump scare of the movie. Ben Gardner's head pops out of the boat with one eye missing.
Which I will say is the fakest looking effect in the whole movie, including the shark. Wow. The corpse does not look real. And that was one problem. It didn't
get you at all?
The jump scare did, but like when you look at the corpse, it's like this is obviously not a real.
I will say it doesn't get me anymore, but I've seen it so many times. That's why.
But it just looks fake. But you don't think it looks fake?
Sure, no, it doesn't look. It doesn't look great.
Because the problem with matching humans is, we're really good at telling what's real humans and what's not, even more than sharks. So when you show an effect that's human, it's kind of like that Terminator shot. Where it's obviously fake.
Where one really bad Terminator shot where he's taking out his eye.
Yes, in the mirror, yeah. it's like that where it stands out because of that. But it's such a quick thing. I don't want to harp on it too much. But I love Richard Dreyfuss's reaction. He was just freaking out, drops everything, and like runs up.
That was reshot, actually. Spielberg didn't like how it came out in the film because he said the screams in the audience wasn't loud enough. He wanted it to be louder.
Oh, funny.
So he refilmed it in a pool. It's not Richard in some of the reshoots. It is a stunt double. Some of it is Richard from the original shooting, obviously. But
okay. They edited it together.
Yeah, they edited it together. And when they reshowed it with this new footage, the scream was louder, and he was like, "There, I got it."
Yeah, that's great. No.
Yeah, I love just seeing Spielberg like, come on, like, just get him.
As somebody who's directed my own things, I do try to gauge audience reaction, and want certain reactions from certain things. Sure. So I totally understand Spielberg's thinking there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then they're like, this is really serious, this situation.
Yeah. And so they try to talk to the mayor again. And the mayor's not having it.
It's not the same shark. And they're like, well, where's this tooth? Show me this tooth. I lost it. Well, and
prove
he's like
it. Prove there's a shark
calling him out, just saying, you can't prove this. And
you just want your name in National Geographic is what he says.
That's what he said.
And then Hoover just laughs. It's like, oh, gosh.
No.
Not at all.
And the funniest thing is somebody had vandalized the billboard.
I love that so much.
Shark.
And there's a giant shark fin behind this.
Somebody get this off of there.
It's like this, the billboard is this girl, swimming in the ocean and supposed to be all happy, like, welcome to Amity Island, but someone vandalized it, make it look like she's being attacked by a shark.
It's great. It's really great. It's funny. It's good Spielberg humor.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I totally forgot to talk about we should go back because we forgot to talk about the oneer. The famous oneer in Jaws.
The famous oneer is later than I'm thinking of. There's a couple. Which one are we talking about? On the raft where the car is going across the river. A whole conversation between Brody and the mayor is filmed. We didn't talk about that. I can't believe we didn't do that. We just glossed over that. I'm sorry.
I want to jump to that right now so we can cover it.
Of course.
It's great. It's one unbroken shot from one side of the...
It's a great way to keep it interesting, too, because the background is always moving. Mm-hmm. Unlike, say... Phantom Menace, for instance, if it was just a conversation in a room.
And it's a story reason because eventually, at first, Brody is going over there to... What is he doing? Exactly.
There's a bunch of Boy Scouts swimming for the merit badges, and he's trying to bring them in.
And then the mayor is convincing him, don't do that. And eventually, at the end, they do turn the boat around and let the Boy Scouts stay out.
Yeah. Lucky for them, the shark was, I guess, full.
Didn't attack them, yes. Thank God.
But yes, there's a great one shot there. And
yeah, it's a great oneer. It's one of the famous ones.
Also, the screenwriter is in that scene. He is the guy who... He's like kind of chubby guy with the dark hair.
Which screenwiter?
No, sorry, Carl Gottlieb.
Okay.
Yeah. Final screenwriter. He's in that scene. He's also in the scene in the mayor's office later when they're all the town's meeting.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, back to where we were.
That's a fun fact.
There's another scene I wanted to cover, and it's kind of out of context, so I'll just talk about it real quick.
Go ahead.
There is a scene where it's probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie too. So I'm just going to cover it now. So Brody realizes that his son got a present, and it's this raft.
Oh, yes.
And they're on the dock, and learning this, like, where is he? Oh, he's on the raft. No, he's like, is he in the water? Well, no, he's on the raft. And he's like, doesn't care. Running out. Get off the raft. Get out of the ocean. Get away. Get away.
Dad, I'm just on a boat. It's tied to the dock. Is what he says. Then his wife's like, Martin.
Well, hold on. Yeah, because his wife's like, he's not in the ocean. He's on the raft. And then he's like starting to be like,
it's like, okay, all right.
All right, you're right. So then she picks up the book he's reading. She sees a picture of a shark eating into a boat. And he's like, you heard your father! Get out of the boat right now!
It's so great.
It's so funny.
He just looks like, what?
Yeah,
where'd that come from?
It's really funny, though. But, it establishes kind of the fear of what they're up against. A boat is not going to save you, which we'll find out later.
Yeah, it's good payoff there. It's a good setup.
Several scenes.
Like, hey, if you don't know about sharks, apparently this can happen. I don't know. I didn't have time to look that up to see if that's ever actually happened, but...
All right, so then I believe it's the 4th of July.
It's the 4th of July, and the sheep are heading to the slaughter in a...
Well, not first. They're not getting in the water.
No.
Mayor walks up and he's like,
But
why aren't you
I just wanted to mention there's a great montage of people that's coming, and
Well, no, it's coming
like
because
that.
first we got to talk about. We're going in order.
Oh, okay.
First,
sorry.
the mayor walks up. Nobody's in the water. He's like, "Why aren't you in the water?" Hey, go get in the water. And he's like, "Well, I'm just kind of sunbathing." No, go in the water. Okay. And then he walks out with his kids, and then eventually everyone's like, "Oh, okay, we're getting in the water now." So then they all go.
Yeah. And they do have people on boats watching the water to be like, okay.
This is like a military operation.
In
fact, there's a shot that's straight out of The Longest Day. It's of this
really?
helicopter, and actually out of a movie he made later, Saving Private Ryan. It's like almost the same shot. From the helicopter, sure. You get the line of the beach, and you get to see all these beachgoers running out to the beach, which is, I wonder if that's intentional callback of the same shot of Saving Private Ryan, because it's literally the opposite shot.
I don't know.
Instead of, because they're all running out, and then in Saving Private Ryan, they're all coming onto the beach. Right. But it is an unintentional callback, if anything. But I liked that.
It's a Spielberg callback on purpose. I could see it.
I did like it, but here it works really well because you see the scale, like all of these people, and that's what that shot does.
Hundreds of people, and they all go in the water, and then two kids decide
the dumbest kids in the world.
Oh my gosh, they almost get shot.
Yes, they have all holding guns at them.
So these two kids come up with like a rubber fin and to basically scare people.
Well, they call shark.
Yeah, they call shark. They're like, shark, get out of the water. And people are running, they're trampling over each other, they're screaming.
So I wanted to ask you, why does Brody not want them to use a whistle?
I don't know.
Okay.
I have wondered that. Every time I watch it,
it's never brought up again. I
cannot figure it out. There's no setup for it. So I will say that is my one what the hell, why thing in the movie.
I was confused by that, but that's just one thing, yeah.
If someone knows, please comment, because I would love an answer.
Yes. Okay, so they all rush out of the water. It turns out it's just two kids. But then, as they're like, oh, false alarm, this girl from across...
before his son Michael wants to go out on his boat with his friends, and Brody's like, you know what?
He pulls him aside.
Can you go into the little pond? He doesn't do it in front of the kids, but he's like, can you just go in the pond, please?
Do me a favor. Do this for me.
And he's like, pond's for the old lady. Yeah, but just do it for the old man. Come on. Yeah. And he's like, fine, I'll do it. He thinks he's going to be safe. Shark's not going to go in there. It's going to go for all the people on the beach. Turns out he was dead wrong.
That's straight where the shark goes.
Yep.
And so essentially the shark attacks his kid and
this lifeguard, who is not as lucky as his
this guy on the boat. Yeah, who the boat gets flipped very easily.
Yep, both boats get flipped very easily.
However, the kids do make it out, except
there's a deleted cut of that scene, actually, where the guy doesn't get dragged under like he does in the movie. He actually tries to save Michael, and he's pushing him away from the shark, get him to safety. And he's kind of in the shark's mouth as he's kind of
Did they
carrying
think it was
the kid.
Too silly?
No, it looks pretty. No, it's graphic. It's not silly, but it's like they thought it'd be too graphic. They didn't want it to be R-rated.
Okay.
Basically, so they just cut it down, and they're like, you know what? Just have his leg fall on the bottom of the water, and that'll be the death scene. And then there's this sideways angle of the camera going, and you see the kid and stuff.
Yeah, we'll talk about the rating later. That
It's PG, but it's 70s PG, so it's a little different.
This is like the worst PG movie you'd ever see.
Temple of Doom, I don't know. Is it worse than Temple of Doom? That's an interesting question. We can talk about that later.
That is a good question by the same director, funny enough.
Yes,
Temple of Doom is the notorious movie that created the PG-13.
That and Gremlins came out the same year, and they both are to blame for PG-13 existing.
To blame.
Probably a good thing, actually. Yes. But
yeah, but okay, so his kid makes it out, but he's close to death.
He's traumatized. Yeah, basically. He's in shock.
He was in shock, and he almost died.
Yeah.
So this is serious for Brody.
So now it's personal for him, and he looks on the water like he doesn't want to go in, but he's like, "Damn it, I have to go in." Can I? Well,
they're at the hospital. Yeah.
Okay. Murray Hamilton is there to apologize to Brody.
Well, he
was wrong.
Well, not quite. He's kind of standing on his own, being quiet. Brody walks up to him and is like, okay, you've made some mistakes. You need to sign this paper so we can hire Quint to kill the shark. And, he's hesitant at first. He doesn't, but he's deep in thought. And he's like, he has a great line where he's like, my kids were on that beach too.
Yeah.
And I liked that line. And he's like, okay, just sign the paper. So he signed it, finally. And then Quint is allowed to go after the shark. And of course, Brody and Richard Dreyfuss go with, and they're in the cabin, and Quint is arguing with them because they both want to go but kind of don't want to go because Quint is grilling Hooper on like seafaring terms and tie this knot.
Hooper initially wants to go, but then Quint's being a total jerk to him.
That's what I'm saying. He's grilling him, and he's like, I don't know if you can do this, you know.
He's like, tie this simple knot. He's like, well, okay, I haven't had to do this simple task for a long time, but here you go. And then he doesn't even care. He doesn't even look at the knot.
No, but then he's asking, you know, like, what's your experience? He's like, oh, I've done this and this and this. And I was like, it's not the same. And, you know, but then Brody's even funnier because Brody's like, well, I don't really want to go in the water, but I guess I have to. So, and he's like, well, I could just go alone. And he's like, well, no, you're not going alone. I have to go. You know, I'm hiring you, so... You know, so there's a little bit of hesitation on his end, but he does go.
Brody is the most inexperienced out of all of them, obviously, by far, on the water.
Yes.
And you can tell.
Well, he's a city guy, so...
Yeah.
But they all agree to go.
I do love an earlier line where Hooper's like, it's kind of odd for a guy who's scared of the water to live on an island. It's only an island if you look at it from the water. That makes a lot of sense. It's a great little line about that. But anyway.
I think he was pointing out that it didn't make any sense.
Right. He was saying
it sarcastically.
Didn't make any sense.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, that was funny. But, so yeah, they agree to go out and they get on the boat, the Orca.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is an interesting name for a boat because if anyone who knows sharks, they know that the only natural predator that sharks have are killer whales.
Yes.
That's it. So
it's
very
touch. That's Peter Benchley. That is in the book.
It's very notable. It's a nice thing that Quint would probably call his boat. It makes sense. Shark hunter.
Absolutely.
You know? So it's great. But this is a different animal altogether, as we learn soon.
Oh yes.
But this is where the movie kind of slows down a bit because we have a lot of them just searching for the shark.
Funny. I've heard that from other people, but it becomes a different movie. I agree. It feels like
the movie takes a break.
Oh, it takes a break. Okay.
That's what slows down means.
Okay. But slow down can also be a negative where you're saying it gets really slow and kind of starts to...
I think it depends on the context. But
okay. Go ahead.
The movie slows down a bit.
Go ahead.
And it focuses more on bonding between our characters.
Right.
So we learn that Hooper is a little bit out of his league, perhaps, here. He makes a couple of mistakes, especially with these oxygen tanks, bringing them, and Quint's like, why are you bringing these? And then, of course... Brody pulls the wrong knot, and then they all come tumbling out, and so there's some conflict. And there's
I will say, the only setup that feels like this was obviously set up is that line where he's like, "This is compressed air. If you mess around with these things, it'll blow up." It's like, okay, that's how they're gonna kill the shark.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
I'll say that line. It's not as well hidden of exposition to establish something later.
But, there's some conflict between all our characters. But, they start getting, the idea of Quint's character. And so what they do is they chum the water. And this is to attract the shark. And it's basically throwing fish guts into the water and blood. And I'll go ahead. You can contribute.
Of course, first there's a scene where Quint has a line out and something latches onto his line. We don't know what it is, but it's a nice little tense moment because it's like, could it be the shark? Maybe it's the shark.
Hooper says it's not a shark.
Hooper says it's not a shark. Quint's like, I don't believe you.
It could be anything. It's a marlin. It's big game. It's not a shark.
Right.
And Quint's like, well, how do you know? You
don't know for sure.
And then, of course, the line snaps.
So it could be the shark, but we don't know.
Yeah.
No.
Well.
I don't know.
Yeah, I guess we don't know.
Suspense scene, and it's.
Was that the same scene when the shark, where they're trying to debate the intelligence of the shark, or is that later?
I believe that's later.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
No.
Just trying to get all this straight. Yeah. So, and then essentially what they say is it's starting to get dark, and they're still looking for the shark, right?
Well, yeah, kind of. I mean, it's still the same day. By the way, here's another change from the book to the movie that Spielberg did, and I think it's a wise change. In the book, they go out to sea every morning, and then they go home at night. And Brody has dinner with his wife, and it's there.
Oh, yeah, because they hook the shark with the barrel, right? The barrel of air.
Yes, that's later. But Anyway.
No, that's now, before it gets dark. They
Right.
hook the shark with the barrel.
Yes. Okay, I gotta talk about this famous scene. Brody is chumming, Quint's like, come on, hurry up, keep chumming, and he doesn't want to, but he does it, and he's chewing Quint out under his breath.
He's like, why does Hooper get to drive? And because that's what he's doing.
Hooper drives the boat. Why? Like, he's like, slow ahead. I can go slow ahead. Why don't you come down and chum some of this stuff? And then as soon as he says that, it's this laugh, and then the shark finally works. The mechanical shark works, and we get the shot of the shark's head coming out of the water. And
you get this scene of just Roy Scheider just backing up.
Question, did that one get you? Also,
well, I knew it was coming.
Okay.
It's the most iconic
thing. I'm just wondering, because you've seen the movie less, though. I was wondering
if it works in the movie, yes. It's creepy, because it's huge.
Absolutely.
And then
he backs up into Quint's cabin, where Quint's just sitting there, and you hear the famous line, which was ad-libbed by Roy, "We're going to need a bigger boat."
I believe it's "you're going to need a bigger boat."
Yeah, you're going to need a bigger boat.
And then later it's going to...
I've heard it done wrong so many times.
Well, no, later it's "we're going to need a bigger boat," right? We're going to get a bigger boat,
They do say both, yes.
Yeah. In fact, they bring it up several times after, which is a little distracting, because I think the third time they said it, I'm like, okay, yeah, you said it a lot.
Well, are you thinking that more because it's a famous line now, so it almost feels like, okay, a joke?
No, he's like, we're going to go get a bigger boat, right? We're going to go back to port and we're going to get a bigger boat.
It makes sense for his character.
I guess,
so I'm okay with that.
Okay, that's fine. Yes, and then, of course, there is that sort of action, quote-unquote, sequence where they hook the shark with the barrel.
Hooper wants to get pictures of it because he's like, this thing's 25 feet. This is huge. I want to get evidence of this. And he's trying to get Roy Scheider to go out on the front.
On the pulpit.
I need something in the foreground to give it some scale. Foreground my ass! Damn it!
Yeah, it's really funny.
It's a really funny sequence. And Quint's just trying to shoot this thing. Hooper's not ready. He's not listening. But he finally tries to attach the thing. But it's too late. It's not a good enough shot. So the barrel, shark just goes down with the barrel. And,
well, no, the shark is so big that it just is able to pull the barrel under, which is kind of creepy.
Yeah. And it is creepy. And, of course, Quint looks satisfied. Like, finally, I got you. I showed you up, kid. Which has kind of been the contention for this movie. Actually, those two actors...
So when does the shark go under the boat to prove... Because they're debating its intelligence, and they're like, it's either really dumb or it's really smart, and I can't tell. I believe that's that first time. I think you're wrong. I think it's when he first hooks it. Because... No. No, now I know. I'm sorry. I forgot what line you were talking about when you mentioned earlier. Because they're trying to figure
earlier,
out.
Yes.
And then the shark goes under the boat, and then Quint's like, no, this thing is really smart.
He's like, it's gone under the boat. I think it's gone under the boat.
Yeah, and he's like, no, this thing is not. It's not stupid. It knows what it's doing, which is kind of creepy and foreshadowing because we know that this thing is intelligent.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
But back to where we were.
So then it's gone under. And we go to a scene of them bonding over their scars.
Well, wait, no. Because it's getting dark.
Well, it's getting dark, yes.
And Roy Scheider's like, okay, we're going to go back and then come back in the morning. Quint's like, no, we hooked the barrel. We can't leave it now.
We're going to stay out here until we find him again.
Until we find it. It can't stay down there forever. We're going to find it. Which he's unsure about, but they're like, okay, whatever. So then we get to the night. And this is where I'm going to point out my biggest problem with the movie.
In this scene, okay, I'm intrigued what it is.
Well, it has to do with this part of the movie.
Okay.
So, Sean, you've been bringing up recently that you think my biggest problem with the movie is going to be the shark and that it doesn't look very real.
Half as a joke, half serious, but yes.
You have a point. The shark does not look convincing in a couple shots, but that's the point. It's just a couple shots. Most of the movie, the shark, you don't really even see.
Sure.
However, there is one element to this movie that's really distracting and really obvious and it looks bad. And it's not just this movie. A lot of movies make the mistake. Day for Night looks terrible in this film. It's so
my God,
obvious.
I should have called that.
It's so obvious when it's Day for Night.
It's not as bad as it is in a lot of other films.
Well, here's the problem. It's bright sunny day. And it's obvious there is because you can see the shine of the sun off the water. You can see the sheen off their forehead.
When they're in the cabin?
Of the sun. I'm talking about the whole nighttime sequence here.
Okay.
Of the movie.
Yeah, when they're outside, which is barely part of the sequence, but yes.
They're outside a lot. At night.
No, there's one scene where they're outside at night.
There are shots throughout the movie of them being out at night.
No.
The shot of the dart, when they're on the dock, that's all at night. The whole dock sequence.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There are shots in the very opening scene.
I'm talking about this sequence.
This sequence, there are many shots that are at night.
Sure.
That's what I'm saying. There's several shots throughout the movie which are at night. They all look terrible. And the worst part is, at the beginning of the movie, they intercut day for night shots with real evening shots. So you go from a really nice looking sunset to a really bad looking day for night shot within the same few seconds. So it doesn't even match. And it's one of the interesting things about the movie is it was so edited, so weird, where they shot everything at different times a day. You know? It's like you're thinking you're not even recognizing this.
No, I don't notice it as much as I do in other movies because it's not as bad. Yes, sure.
I'm just saying it's one of the most distracting technical elements of the movie is that day for night is used. Shoot at night. This is what a lot of filmmakers do. They take something, a huge spotlight, the moon, quote unquote, shine it at whatever you're trying to shoot, but that way the sky looks dark, there's no sun sheen, and everything looks Hollywood still. So it doesn't look really like night. There are very few movies, and we can get into this another day, that do night well. Very rarely done. But at least that looks like they're actually shooting at night. Which
usually
this movie
those work the best when it's like Blair Witch Project or something, and they're actually
Blair Witch Project, Sicario is excellent nighttime photography.
Sure.
Yeah, there are a lot of movies.
Horror movies that do it at night, like Halloween. That film's at
Halloween,
night.
yes.
Yeah.
Looks great.
Friday the 13th.
So that's the thing. It's like it's not like they didn't have the technology to do it. I'm trying to figure out why they decided to do it because the darkness and the unknown.
Part of it could be they were on the ocean. They were having enough problems. Maybe they figured if they do it at night, it'll be even worse. I think it would have been
scarier if it looked dark, if you couldn't see anything.
I think so. You're right. I guess I don't know.
In fact, Jaws 3D shot all of their nighttime shots at night.
That's true.
So
you're right.
I'm just trying to figure out why this movie didn't, and that's what's weird about it. I'm just saying.
Jaws 3D is mostly in pools since it's at SeaWorld, but
essentially what I'm saying is that was the most distracting thing for me. It wasn't the shark, it was that. And, it's not a huge complaint, but it is something I noticed every time that I kind of groaned a little bit at.
Okay.
But actually, there's a cool thing
I'm not bothered by it
in this sequence, in this day for night sequence, because what is captured
we get a shooting star in
a
this
meteor.
Scene.
Yes.
So...
And it's interesting because one of the meteors is real, and then they added another one in post because they wanted to match it. Mm. And then the real one looks great. The fake one looks terrible, and it's really funny. I was like, why did you add that fake one? It looks so bad. It's like ticking along like the frame.
Okay, technicals aside, that's
technicals are part of the movie. I think we can debate that.
Absolutely. But I want to get to the scene.
Okay.
And I love the scene.
All right, we'll jump into it.
Okay, let me talk about the scene, please. Okay. So, Hooper and Quint are comparing scars, and they're finally bonding over something.
All three of them are, yeah.
All three of them, yes. But Hooper will show, I got the scar from a moray eel. It bit me while I was taking samples. And Quint will be like, oh, yeah, well, I was arm wrestling this Chinese guy, and he twisted my arm, so now it's out of the socket. And, it escalates until Brody's like, what's that on your arm? Oh, it's a tattoo. I got it removed. And Hooper makes a joke. Don't tell me. Your mother, right?
Yeah, it said mother on it.
And then he's like, no, that's from the USS Indianapolis. And you just hear Hooper. He just stops laughing. He's just like, oh.
And then he goes into possibly one of the greatest
monologues. My absolute favorite movie monologue of all time. Favorite? Even over... There's a few others that are contenders. There's Sam Loomis in Halloween, that great monologue about Michael Myers. There's one about... I think it might be. Maybe I shouldn't say favorite. Maybe I should think about that, but it's one of my favorites.
I would disagree, but that's a hugely opinionated thing. So.
It is, sure.
But it's great.
But I love it. It is chilling. It is... It paints a picture very well. Basically...
Quint is telling a story about his experiences being on the USS Indianapolis.
And how it was sunk by 2 torpedoes, and he was in the water with a bunch of...
Well, I know a lot about the USS Indianapolis.
Here we go. You're going to get the real life stuff.
Huge World War II buff. Well, it's like you're mad at me.
No, I'm just waiting for you to pick it apart now. Go ahead.
No, the real story was the USS Indianapolis was the ship that delivered the Hiroshima bomb. Yep. And a very secret mission. On its way back, its return mission. The bomb was not on the ship at the time.
Obviously, the bomb was not on the ship, as we do know.
Japanese submarine sighted the ship and sunk it in 12 minutes, which is extremely fast when you think about a ship going down in 12 minutes. And imagine all those people getting woken up, because it was at night, I believe, when it sunk. Go away. That would have been terrifying.
Yeah.
So
and
then,
if that wasn't bad enough, at least
so
in
there
this
are a
version.
couple discrepancies between what Quint says and reality.
Well, you have to remember that what happened to the Indianapolis was recently made mainstream, brought out into the public. They probably didn't have all the information. What I'm saying is that I
think it's fine because Quint is just recounting it from what he experienced. He's not he's not a casualty reporter. He's a soldier.
Okay.
And so what he was reporting is what he knew and what he heard from other people. He's not perfect because basically 300 people died in the sinking of the ship. Now, Quint makes it sound like they all lived and they were just all in the 1,200 people in the water.
He said several people died in the drowned.
He said 1,200 people in the water.
Yep.
300 survived. That's what he said.
Oh, that's right. Yep, you're right.
And it was actually more like 900, but he's right. A lot of people died. However, Quint doesn't make it sound like they all died from sharks. Not true. A lot of them died from dehydration, from saltwater poisoning. Okay. That was majority of the deaths, but they do predict there were possibly over 100 deaths from sharks. Sure. Now, yeah, this is probably the worst shark attack on record when it comes to mass casualties. It's impossible to know how many were killed by sharks, but they were out in the water for 5 days before they were finally sighted by a happenstance by a plane flying overhead. All this is accurate, what he said about the movie. It's interesting because he said there were 317 survivors, he said? No, he said 316. There were
316
There were 317. So he's I guess he's not counting himself. I don't know. So that was
mentally
one funny thing.
He did not survive, I guess.
That was one funny thing I thought. But overall, yeah, it's a really chilling recount.
I was trying to say before you interrupted, it paints a picture of basically this horrific event in his life where his life was changed and he's terrified of sharks.
Well, it gives us his character motivation. Yeah. This is why he's been hunting sharks.
He wants to kill this shark because it terrifies him, the fact that a creature like this is
Well, he wants to kill all sharks. Yeah. That's what he does. He goes out and kills sharks.
Exactly. It really brings home the fact that he's basically Moby Dick. This is his white whale, basically.
Well, what I like about it is it's an incredibly chilling story that is complete and scary, but it's completely through dialogue and from Robert Shaw's acting has to carry this whole thing.
Sure.
And seeing this kind of tough and rough and gruff captain being you can see it in his eyes, that little bit of fear in him. That is kind of bone chilling,
Yeah, but I love how Hooper and Brody are just reacting. They're just kind of like in shock. And Hooper, you can tell this is when he finally really respects Quint.
Yes.
And actually, that's when Richard Dreyfuss started respecting Robert Shaw, because they were kind of going at each other's throats in real life. Robert Shaw was kind of like, you're the young actor. You don't really know what you're doing, you know, and he gave him a lot of gruff. And this was the moment when he saw him act there, he was like, okay, now I see. You're a hell of an actor.
Yeah, and he is.
He is a hell of an actor,
it's
man.
Terrific scene.
Rest in peace to you, Robert Shaw. He was a great asset to this movie. I'm so happy he's in it.
Yeah, he's great.
But
they're rudely interrupted by a shark.
Well, first we get a song from Hooper.
Yep.
He
sings throughout the whole movie.
Home. Well, no, Quint does, and then this is Hooper.
Oh yeah. Quint sings through the whole movie, and then Quint starts singing.
He starts singing,
and then
his song about Spanish ladies.
Yes, he loves to sing that song, and then Hooper sings after.
Yep.
His
Show me the way to go home.
Where they all sing.
Yeah, they all sing. And Quint notices something's hitting the boat. Well, we first see the barrels come back near the boat.
Yeah,
so
we know that something's coming.
It's coming.
And the shark is literally bumping against the hull of the boat.
It does feel like it's personal a little bit, I guess. It feels like...
there are theories that this shark is not really supposed to be a normal great white.
Sure.
And this is brought up in the sequels.
Well, definitely the fourth one.
Yeah, where they're like... Well, yeah, but they're like mutated great whites, right? There's something weird about them that...
I don't think that's ever said. It's just more like they're smart. It's not like Deep Blue Sea where they're smart sharks, because of a scientist or something.
No, but they're mutated great whites. They're not quite great whites.
Yeah, they're
I love when you think you mutated, you think like evil scientists.
Well, no,
mutated literally means their DNA has changed.
Okay, sure. Okay,
That's what the literal definition of mutated is.
But yes, so they go on the boat. Brody tries to shoot it with a pistol, which I love. It's such a nice little moment for him. It's like this isn't going to do anything. Actually, it does do something. It does make the shark bleed. He does hit the shark, but
yeah,
nothing, not enough to actually do any real damage.
Mm-hmm.
And so we cut to the next day. They're fiddling around, or Hooper and Quinn are fiddling around down below to try to get all the water out.
The shark's done a lot of damage.
Yeah.
The water has damaged the engine.
Yep.
And,
You see something blow up down below. What was that again? Was that the engine?
That's later when the explosion happens.
No. There's something underwater. It's not an explosion, but like something pops out. Shoot.
The explosion is later.
I'm messing up a couple scenes in my head. Okay, you're right. The explosion's later.
So, essentially what happens is, even though all these problems with the boat are happening, the shark is back, and they're going to try and hook it up to the boat and drag it to shore. And that's kind of their plan. So they
that plan
shoot
goes south
three harpoons into this thing, 3 barrels, and then try and tie them onto the back of the boat. However, the shark is so big, it's able to drag the boat. And this is a pretty decent sized boat.
Yeah.
So yeah, what essentially happens is they eventually are able to cut the ties after a pretty big struggle. They would cut the ties from the shark, and then they start heading to shore. But the shark is following them. Mm-hmm. And you see just the barrels above the water, and that's where we know where the shark is.
Well, first we get Brody tries to make a phone call.
Oh, yes.
Quinn
He's saying Mayday, Mayday.
Quinn comes in with a baseball bat and just destroys the radio.
Smashes the radio, and he's like, you're certifiable, Quinn. You're certifiable. Which is great. I love that scene.
And then Hooper's like, oh, boys, I think he's coming back for his noon feeding.
Yeah,
of course,
that's really great.
They shoot a barrel into him.
Well, it does. He does seem a little crazy, Quinn, and this is a scene that really cements that. But he just
adds to his character of he is afraid, but he's trying not to show that he's afraid. But he wants to take down the shark too. Also, like he doesn't want.
Well, he smashes the radio because he's like he doesn't want an excuse to leave. He wants to stay until the shark is dead.
Yeah, he's trying to conquer his fear basically,
and get $10,000.
There's that, but I think it's. I don't know. Like, is it solely based on money? I didn't say solely,
but that's part of it.
Okay,
I'm sure.
You're right. But like, what do you think the more driving force is? Because I wonder if
I think
it's a manhood thing. I think it's like.
But he does ask for that money. It's not like he's like, oh, I'll do it for free, killing the shark.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So obviously, there's a monetary.
Of course, he wants money.
And I don't think it's that important because then he's driving the boat to shore and he goes full speed, and then Hooper's like, stop! You're gonna blow the motor.
And I love it. He's going full blown crazy at this point. He's like, farewell, like he just keeps singing his song over and over again, and he's just like, he looks terrified.
And then
there is one shot. Did you notice? Because so during filming this movie, Spielberg never wanted to see land. He wanted you to feel isolated, and that's another reason why he made that decision to cut the idea of them going back home every night. Like that was in the book.
Well, I'm glad that they saw land here because I was thinking.
You noticed that too?
How far out are these guys?
They're really close when filming. To land.
Okay. Well, I thought that they should be pretty close because we should be able to see the island still. Otherwise, them getting home seems like such an insurmountable task.
Yeah, but there's a shot when they're driving where I don't think that's supposed to be.
Oh, do you see it really close?
Yes.
Like closer than the end?
Like closer than it should be.
Okay.
Because of the ending.
Yeah.
It means basically they would have gone past the island for some reason.
Oh.
Basically.
Interesting.
So it's the one shot I've noticed several times watching the movie, and I'm kind of like, well, it's
Spielberg,
you missed one shot.
Funny enough, I didn't notice that. But
the rest of the shots.
But yeah, the motor blows out, and the ship is sinking at this point.
Yes,
it is in bad shape.
It's going to sink. So Quint makes the decision. He says, Hooper, what can you do with this cage? We're going to use this idea of yours. See if you can go down there and do something. And he says,
well, he says,
he's like, what can you do with this spear?
Yeah, he's going to try and pump some poison into the shark.
Yeah. And he's
by getting
it
in its mouth.
If I can poke it in the mouth, and Brody's like, that shark will rip that cage to pieces. But, it's like, that's their only option.
Do you have a better idea?
You have a better suggestion? And then it's this moment where it's this montage of them putting the cage together. Another continuity error, I guess, if we want to be picky. There's a shot where Brody has his shirt off, and then the next shot he has his shirt on. I don't know when he did that.
Maybe he took it off and put it back on again.
I guess. But anyway.
Yeah, the cage goes in the water.
Hooper gets in, and it's this sad moment, honestly, where it feels like Hooper's going to his death, basically.
Well, the coolest thing is he's in the water and he can't see anything. But then there's a shot where the shark swims behind.
Well, no. I'm talking before when he like gets lowered in, and it's kind of like this.
No, I know,
like,
but I'm just talking about
yes.
what I like about it, because the shark swims behind the cage, and there's that ominous feeling. Oh crap! Here it is, and he just doesn't look prepared. And then of course the shark comes in and it starts hitting the cage.
He's poking this thing out, which every time I watch it now, I'm like, no, get the thing back in the cage! Don't poke it out! And then of course the shark comes behind him. He drops.
The cage
another thing that was set
apart.
up before. He drops the spear, much like he dropped the tooth earlier in the film. Mm-hmm. And now he's terrified. He is alone in the water with this giant shark. It's the pre-47 meters down, guys.
Yes.
Sorry.
So the cage gets destroyed, but he's able to hide on some rocks and stay
in the
down
movie,
there.
In the book, he does die. I couldn't find anything to say if they kept that. But considering they were changing a lot about his character anyways, I'm guessing they didn't.
Well, he hid down there.
But there is a nice shot because they did film real sharks for this movie. Down in Australia. Okay. They had a few like real shots, and they had a dummy in a cage for that scene because they wanted to film real sharks going around or a dummy, and then they had a stunt double.
Okay.
Who's going to be in the cage. And there's this shot where the shark is tangled in the thing above, which was a total fluke shot. And it was lucky the person wasn't in the cage at the time because they were lowering the cage and the shark just got tangled in the ropes that were attached to the winch.
Where the shark is freaking out on top of the cage.
He's freaking out.
That's a real shark?
Yes.
It looks like a real shark.
It is a real shark freaking out.
That added a lot of production value because I'm like, that looks like a real shark. So it's funny that it was.
It was a real shark and it was a total fluke. And it's a nice little moment.
So,
and then they worked in the film because it looks like, they're like, holy crap, he's dying down there. Pull the thing up. And they can't do it. And then they pull it up and it looks like, and there's this sad look again. They're like, "Oh God,
he's gone."
All
right. Well, let's try and get through the rest.
And then
we are running pretty late.
The shark jumps on the boat
to the back of the boat, rips through the back.
Which maybe that doesn't happen. I don't care though because it is a terrifying moment.
Well, not only that, then the boat is at such an angle where Quint is falling into the shark's mouth, and he's just freaking out.
It's unsettling, and it's one of those moments at the end of a horror movie. It's like the end of The Fly, the original, that I think if you watch this as a kid, it will give you a phobia of sharks, much like that'll give you a phobia of spiders. Because it is utterly terrifying to see this guy just screaming for his life, trying to grab onto anything. Not
only just this guy, this really tough captain
this guy you have seen, like, he's a tough,
he's
strong
taking on
character.
Sharks,
and he's a scared little kid again. He's basically like he was on the Indianapolis.
And definitely the most graphic scene in the whole movie.
Even more than the little boy dying. Yes, absolutely.
Because we see
blood in his mouth. We see him and then just dragged under.
And because the shark finishes him off, he crunches his chest.
You hear the crunching. Yep. It's so unsettling.
And then you see his body go limp and gets pulled into the water. And then all that's left is Brody. And he goes into the cabin. And this is possibly like the most movie moment of the whole thing. The ship is sinking.
Absolutely.
The shark breaks through into the cabin.
But what Spielberg basically said is, if I've gotten him this far, I can do this.
Yeah.
And he's right.
And it works fine, because then Brody's able to get the oxygen tank in him, and his plan is, I'm going to shoot the tank, and that's my last hope.
It's just literally his last effort.
So he's clinging to the top metal bar.
I want to congratulate John Williams here, because I love how he builds up this scene with the music. Because it builds, it's this battle theme, like, and then it builds higher and higher as, he's shooting, and the tension builds. And then he's finally like, smile, you son of a bitch. Shoots last shot, goes into the tank, blows up. Fantastic explosion.
Shark is everywhere.
Shark goes underwater. Makes a T-Rex roar. Because Spielberg liked that he did that in Duel. So that was his callback to Duel.
Well, it's not as bad as the roar in Jaws Revenge. Where it's like, what?
Yes, for those who haven't seen that masterpiece... I guess we can talk about that briefly later.
No, we'll just say the shark roars.
The shark roars. The shark comes out of the water and roars like a lion.
I want to talk about John Williams for a second.
Okay.
Now, this is probably going to be the most controversial thing I say all night.
Oh, boy.
So, strap in.
Just go ahead.
So, everyone loves the Jaws theme. It is terrific. And there's no doubt about the Jaws theme. The rest of the score does not fit the movie. And it's several moments where it sounds like an adventure, whimsical movie. And it takes me out of the horror and the threat. Because they're chasing the shark. It should be a tense scene. Okay. It sounds
go ahead.
straight out of like Indiana Jones. And it's like, this is too whimsical and light. And there's a reason John Williams doesn't do horror. It's not his type of style.
Sure.
And he came up with a theme. It's great. The theme is fantastic. Everything else doesn't really fit. And there's several parts of the movie where I'm like, this doesn't sound like a horror movie soundtrack. And even soundtracks of the day that were horror movie soundtracks it's not like it's a dated thing. Because there are fantastic soundtracks. Sure,
it's not like The Exorcist, where that's unsettling the whole way through Halloween.
Yes.
Even
very
though it came
moody.
out later.
You know it's a horror movie.
Sure.
If people are going to classify Jaws as a horror movie, the soundtrack doesn't fit.
I think it can be classified, and I've seen this actually a lot. It's both horror and it's adventure.
Okay.
And I think
that's
that
what it feels
part
like.
is adventure.
But I'm just telling you, there's a moment in the climax where I really thought it really didn't work. And it's where it goes from the adventure theme to the Jaws theme again, finally. But that adventure stuff, it's like, wait, I should be feeling like a lot of fear right now. And when that...
I think I do feel fear, though. I'm
just telling you how I feel.
Okay.
That the adventure theme takes me out of the horror.
Interesting.
And there's actually, he samples Quint's song in the soundtrack.
He does.
And that also takes me a little bit out of it. It's like, I see what
it's
you're
like
trying to
it's
do,
a
but...
musical collaboration of all the music we've heard throughout the movie.
I'm just telling you what it makes me feel.
Okay.
I don't think this is one of Williams' best scores besides the theme. If you take out the theme, which nobody remembers anything else of the score. So that's why I want to point out. Nobody likes the Jaws score for anything else but the theme.
Sure.
I've never heard a single person
I will say I love the music during the Indianapolis scene. I think that's a great undertone music there.
Yeah,
I love the music during Ben Gardner's boat scene when
there's several like horror-ish sequences.
And I actually do love that ending theme because it is a build with suspense and also hope. And it actually works for me, I would say.
Okay. It just sounds a little too like Twister,
I don't think it goes that far. Where it's
I'm just saying that's how I feel.
All right.
You're free to disagree.
You're free to that
it's
opinion.
Not my favorite
it's
Williams.
wrong, but no, I'm kidding. But
it's not my favorite Williams soundtrack except for the theme. I mean, if we're gonna remove the theme, I think nobody would remember the soundtrack.
Interesting.
Because the theme, I say he deserves the Oscar because it's great and it's that memorable. So yeah, I just wanted to get that out there. But you're right, the shark explodes, and then we realize Richard Dreyfuss is still alive. He's just hiding in the rocks the whole time.
And there's this nice one little bonding moment. It's like he's kind of like Quint. Is he still alive? No. It's like, oh, damn it. Then they go off into the sunset, like an Old West movie, and
they're
it's the end of the movie. Yeah, they're paddling off.
Paddling.
I guess not into the sunset, but it feels like
the
that.
Island. And I think it's a good ending.
Yeah.
We don't need to see an epilogue here.
No.
The shark is dead.
We don't need to see like a parade in the city or like, yay, thank you.
The story is over. And it's funny because I criticize this for The Mummy for having too short of an ending. But when you have characters that are this well developed and this, extraordinarily written and acted, that, this can feel like even this short amount of resolution can feel like enough because they've been through hell. They've survived now. And that's solace enough for us,
And this isn't like, I feel like if this was made today, it'd be them swimming off and then all of a sudden a shark fin would pop up out of the water or something.
Yeah, it's just,
then it would cut or something. I'm happy they don't do that.
They don't.
But I mean, yeah, I love this movie. I don't know. We do have to get to The Shallows, so I don't know if you want to wrap it up now with final thoughts, or what do you think?
Yeah, we should wrap up this one so we can...
Okay, well, I'll just say, this is a formative film for me. It introduced me to Spielberg, like I said. It's one of my all-time favorite films. I could watch this movie again and again. It's one of those, if I sit down and watch it, guess what? You're not going to be able to get me to do much for the next 2 hours, because I'm going to be busy watching a masterpiece. Even though I will admit, it's not as scary as it used to be.
Okay.
And that's because I've seen it so many times. But it's one of those, what I call horror films, like, well, watching it's not necessarily scary, but it's an after effect horror, where if I go swimming, I'm going to be thinking of Jaws. If I go swimming in a lake. Actually, when I was 12, I went to the ocean. with my family. And the whole time, I eventually was convinced by my sister to go out in the water. Took some coercion.
Yeah.
And I was looking behind myself the whole time because I was honestly expecting a fin to just come out of the water or something like that. I was so terrified. Eventually, I did kind of get over that in the water, at least.
Yeah, I wouldn't love the idea of swimming in the ocean even today. I just for a lot of reasons, but sharks being one of them.
Yeah,
even though again, sharks don't really attack people.
They don't. Then it's the sad thing. Peter Benchley has said he regrets writing the book because several sharks were killed because people.
I think he estimated millions
of sharks,
and millions and millions of sharks.
Because of the fact that people are now saying sharks are killing machines, but of course that's not true. We know.
Well, the thing is, the great white isn't even a coastal shark. It's not even found on the coast. It's a deep sea shark.
No, that would be extremely rare. It has happened once or twice, but literally once or twice. Actually, if a shark attacks a human, it's usually because they think it's a seal or some other kind of food.
Yeah, and a lot of quote-unquote shark attacks could be more considered like shark interactions.
It's more like testing out, see if this is food.
It's rare that the shark is actually trying to eat you. Yeah. Yeah, that's very uncommon.
But the thing is, because it's a shark and it's a big creature, a little taste is a giant bite into your leg, unfortunately.
But it still works as a monster movie because the water is scary.
Water's scary, and even if the shark isn't trying to kill me, it'd still be scary to be attacked by one of those things.
It's hard to get away,
Yeah, it's terrifying. You could still be dragged under and drowned.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts?
I think this is a near perfect movie. We nitpicked it a little bit. A couple of things I was like, well, I don't have a problem with that, but I understand why you would. And yeah, does the shark look great? No, but because it's edited in such a way, I think it looks really good. I think it holds up well today, even. I think even younger audiences than even us would like this, probably. Even with all, the CGI now, which we'll get into CGI. It's not bad, but I love that they use, the way this was
I love
filmed.
that they were able to get away with making this shark that scary without seeing it nearly at all.
It's very Hitchcockian. Spielberg used a lot of
I'll get into that.
Things from Hitchcock. Thoughts. And, he shows a lot of skill here, and I love that this made him a name. And I love this movie. So, yes, this is 5 stars, if you can't tell, from me. 5 out of 5. Easy.
Absolutely. Okay.
Go ahead.
So, speaking of Hitchcock, so if you showed me this movie, and we're like, who directed this? Alfred Hitchcock. This is an Alfred Hitchcock movie that's happened to be directed by Steven Spielberg.
Alive. Absolutely.
Well, this is after his prime.
Oh,
Hitchcock was done.
Yes.
I mean, 60s Hitchcock. This movie can be best described by this. This is a combination of Psycho and the Birds. That is absolutely what this movie is. And it's so Hitchcockian that if you have an Alfred Hitchcock fan, they'll love Jaws. It's like the same thing. I love the birds. So I got into Jaws because I love the birds. Because it takes, this time, a little bit more scary of an original premise, but makes it terrifying, right? And a similar small town premise, a similar type of town scare.
He was heavily influenced by the birds while making this.
Oh, did he even say that?
He himself didn't, but other people have said that, yes, he was taking a lot from the birds.
Yeah,
so.
I can definitely see that. I'm glad that was said, because it's that was so prevalent to me watching it this time.
There's definitely several directors who take from Hitchcock, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and also Psycho. Not only the hiding the killer, which is what Jaws does. Psycho did. Yep. That is what Psycho mastered,
Very well.
And killing the woman at the beginning, I think that's straight the shower scene. Sure. It's kind of the same type of thing.
Although we don't think this random woman's
it's not
a
false
character,
protagonist.
so it's not like that.
It's not a false protagonist, but the scene is very similar.
No, I understand.
So yeah, there's a lot of things there, and I love Hitchcock, so I'm really happy. I just when you ask me what's the best Spielberg movie, I wouldn't really think about this as like a really iconic Spielberg movie. It's just a very well-made movie that he happened to direct, that he took a lot of influence from other filmmakers to make. This is before he had his style down, right? This is before he had that Spielberg feel to his movies. There's bits and pieces riddled in, but mostly, it's just a horror film that's very Hitchcockian, that's very, not very whimsical. There's not a lot of whimsy in this.
No, it's not E.T.
But, I think Spielberg,
I would love to see the E.T. version of this where Roy and the shark become friends and he rides off on the shark at the end.
Yes, that would be interesting.
What
I'm saying is, he hadn't formed his style yet, and he even admits that he hadn't,
Sure.
It took, Raiders and Close Encounters for him to really nail down that
Absolutely, yeah.
that style that
Close
he had.
Encounters is more his whimsical style. That's absolutely true. I think Jaws started his adventure style that we would see in Raiders and Jurassic Park.
Which I said, there are bits and pieces I see. But, I think it's more like a Hitchcock film than a Spielberg film, if we were going to go into that. But as for my opinion of the movie, yeah, I really love it. It really worked for me. The scares worked and the characters I loved. So, if a movie is able to do all that in one package, yeah, I really respect this movie. I really enjoyed watching it again. And it's definitely a classic for a reason, And it being the first blockbuster makes sense. There's a lot to love here.
Yeah.
And, it was one of the forefronts of the evolution of marketing movies because they did an extremely good job marketing this film, making people talk about it. It became a summer phenomenon and basically kicked off the idea of the summer blockbuster, which was perfected 2 years later with Star Wars. So...
yeah, started a formula also for a whole set of horror movies, killer animal films, which honestly I like a lot of, including Piranha, which is a direct ripoff.
Basically, kind of, really helps out the slasher genre because of all the similarities it shares with movies like Halloween.
Friday the 13th, yeah, definitely. Yeah, interesting. I'm curious, what is your favorite Spielberg movie? I don't think this is my favorite. I'm just curious.
This is opening a can of worms, Sean.
If you're okay, I guess I'm keying in on what you said was you wouldn't call this his iconic movie, or one of his iconic movies.
I wouldn't call this like you just watch it. You think Spielberg, right?
I think early Spielberg, taking what he's learned from other movies, but yeah, I think Spielberg watching this movie.
Sure, I'm just saying I think it's more Alfred Hitchcock than Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
If I were to be asked that question,
I guess okay.
That's all I was saying. We can talk about Spielberg maybe in a bigger sense another time because that is such a huge topic.
He's one of my favorite directors, so I would absolutely love to talk about how much Spielberg
this is getting really long, so I'm just
you know what? We gotta end. What is your rating for this movie?
I'm gonna give it a 4.5 stars, 9 out of 10.
All right.
It's a fantastic
I can't complain
film.
about that.
Yeah. It's really good.
All right. So let's move almost 40 years. Actually, 41 years. 41 years, yeah.
Yes, because our other two movies came out in the last year or so.
So, after Jaws, many shark movies were made. Many on Sci-Fi Channel later on.
But the interesting thing is, not a lot of them took it very seriously. A lot of them were more silly films.
Honestly, I think the last serious one was Jaws 2, funny enough.
Yeah,
I mean, Open Water, I guess, is a shark movie.
Well, I'm just saying there were some independent movies riddled in there that did it a little bit more serious.
But a lot of them were silly ones, like Deep Blue Sea. Yeah. And then we get, in the 2000s, pretty much the only place you'd see a shark movie is on Sci-Fi Channel. Yeah. Movies like Sharktopus and...
Mega Octopus versus Giant Shark or whatever.
A lot of crap like that.
Some terrible movies.
Sharktopus, of course. Or, Sharknado.
But then, recently...
Yep.
There was a movie script that was written called The Shallows. And it's essentially a survival film with a shark. So let's talk a little bit about this. So originally, Louis Leterrier was originally going to direct this. Not the biggest fan of Louis Leterrier. I mean, The Incredible Hulk wasn't the worst thing ever. Obviously, Clash of the Titans. I don't know. He did Transporter though, and Transporter 2, which are pretty good action films.
Okay.
And he also did most recently Now You See Me, I believe, was his more recent film. But he dropped out. At some point. So then Jamais Clayserra was kind of explored as an option and eventually took on the role of directing. Now, I really love Jamais Clayserra. He has a very distinct style to him. He's probably best known for his Liam Neeson action trilogy. He did, Unknown, then Nonstop, then Run All Night. So he's done all three of those, all Liam Neeson action thrillers. And he's got another one coming out called The Commuter, also with Liam Neeson. But he started out doing horror. So he did the House of Wax remake, which is kind of regarded as bad.
I've never seen it, honestly.
Yeah, so I haven't seen it either. Yeah, I've heard it's pretty bad. But then he did a movie called Orphan, which is kind of a divisive film. I'm actually on the side that I liked the movie. I thought it actually had some pretty creepy stuff in it. And,
I've yet to watch it.
And was pretty well directed, too.
Okay.
So, which Jamais Claire movies have you seen?
I have seen Nonstop.
That's it.
And The Shallows, obviously. But yes.
You got to watch more of his stuff, because I actually think he's a pretty talented guy. So the whole story of this movie, he wanted to do it because he kind of liked the idea of doing a survival movie. Now, Jamais Claire himself, I've looked into it, he likes practical effects. He likes doing things for real. So he's a little hesitant at first to do a CGI, heavy shark, but he knew that for the type of movie it is, he had to do it. So he's like, okay. And had an interesting filmmaking style, which I'll get into. But first, let's talk about Blake Lively, because this is one of those movies. There are several of these movies that are carried pretty much by one person.
Yep.
Now, these movies they're tough, because basically one actor has to play off themselves and hold interest through an entire running time of a movie. And it's tough. It's really tough to do. But some of my favorite movies are these type of movies. A great example is 127 Hours with James Franco. I'm sure you'd agree is a really fantastic performance by James Franco in an absolutely entertaining movie.
I read something. I was reading a bit about this movie, and she actually wanted to do it because...
Well, hold on. Okay. I'll get into it.
Okay, you read this too. Then.
I know.
Go ahead.
127 Hours,
I haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to do something.
Yeah, another one is Locke with Tom Hardy. He carries the movie so well by
I need
himself.
to see more of these movies, because so far...
Yeah, but as you were about to get to, she's married to Ryan Reynolds.
Yep.
Ryan Reynolds has a movie called Buried that we did watch recently.
Yes, I have seen
Aren't
that
you
movie.
happy that we watched that?
Yes,
now?
that movie is amazing.
Yes. And
Very
Ryan
tense.
Reynolds is the only character you ever see on screen. And he has to carry the movie. Blake Lively was inspired by that. When she got the script, she's like, oh, this is a lot like that. I kind of want to do a project like that. So she signed on. And thank God, because she is really good in this movie. And
Absolutely.
yes, she carries it.
Mm-hmm.
And then back to...
My only knowledge of her before this was a comedy movie called Accepted, which is honestly a pretty funny underrated comedy from 2006.
She was in a movie called Age of Adeline, which is like this really bland drama
that
I just didn't really get into. Yeah, she's been in a few things, though, that I've seen. But yeah, she's great here. And back to the way they shot the movie. So, well, essentially, I'll get into just a plot summary, because we don't have to go through
It's not Jaws. Go ahead.
Yeah. So essentially, Blake Lively plays a character named Nancy, who is on a vacation to try and find the beach where her mother was when she learned she was pregnant with her. So it's kind of a nice, sweet little thing. And then she wants to go surfing there. She's a surfer. So she eventually is able to find the beach. She goes surfing there. And it's a very beautiful location. Mm-hmm. So that she meets a couple locals who are surfing there too. They head back. She's like, I'm going to surf for a little longer. And then, well, what do you know? She gets attacked by a shark.
Can I mention, well, I guess we'll get into technicals soon, but I love the first shot we see of the shark when she's on the wave and we slowly see the shadow of the shark.
The shadow of the shark in the wave.
The wave. It's a fantastic shot. Like, that's the kind of shot, like, I'm happy they use CGI because of that, because you couldn't do that with practical.
Yeah, you get the scale of this shark. It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. And then it comes off and bumps her. And she's like, what happened?
Yeah, so it's another great white. And
it
she
feels like that's the only one in some of these shark movies. I guess Deep Blue Sea had Makos, so sometimes it's other sharks. But
yeah, but she is able to swim to a dead humpback whale, or is it a blue whale?
I don't think she knows. She didn't know about the shark at the time, right? When she swims to the whale, I think it's a humpback.
She discovers the whale, but then she swims back there when she's getting attacked.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Yep.
And then the shark is stalking around the whale, and eventually he's going to knock the whale over. So she is able to swim to this rock outcrop that has been revealed by the low tide.
Yeah.
And then it's basically she's stuck on this rock, and she has to try and get to the beach any way she can. So She luckily is a doctor, so she has some medical knowledge, so she's able to stitch up her wounds very crudely, which is hard to watch.
It's really cringe. It makes me cringe. Just, you feel it when she pokes herself with her own earring to sew her leg up.
Yeah.
She has a little bird friend named Sammy the Bird, I believe is his name, or Steve the Bird. Is that it? Something like that.
Well, I don't think she ever named the bird.
She names it. Yeah.
Did she?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Something I don't remember what it is then, but
I must have missed it. But yeah, she befriends a seagull, and it has a broken wing, so it's stuck there with her.
And she fixes it. Again, it's a little
it's
like, oh gosh,
it's out of its socket, so she's able to get it back.
But she's stuck on this island, so she needs to get off.
Yeah, and that's just a survival film. We don't have to go into too many spoilers here because it's not. I don't think it's that important to us discussing it.
There's nothing really spoilery in the movie, I guess.
Well, like whether she makes it or not, I guess.
The biggest, that's about
which I guess we'll talk about. But start off, I want to say what really carries this movie are two things: is Blake Lively's performance, which is excellent, and then Chemay Clayser's direction. Because he's able to really show the isolation of this area, that she's stuck in. And try and go through her plan, and it's very well directed. And the interesting thing is, most of this was done on a set, on a little tiny pool, a little wave pool they set up with blue screen.
They did film some in the ocean, didn't they?
Yeah. No, Chemay Clayser said his goal was to film about 10% of the movie, for real there. And the reason being, he would insert a real shot into all the fake shots, and the idea was to trick the audience. So every scene had a real shot in it, so it brought you some credibility. So the other shots, looked more credible because they had that real shot to anchor them to. So, and it worked because the movie looks great. The effects are excellent for a $17 million movie, which is, I believe, what this was, which is incredibly low. It looks fantastic. The shark looks great, and CGI sharks and CGI animals are tough to pull off. But I think they did a pretty good job, especially the low budget here. The shark looks terrifying. It's huge, and it's it's a scary beast. And this thing is out to get her. It's waiting for her.
Yeah.
So, I liked all those elements of the movie, and I just like these basic survival tales. It's very much like 127 Hours, but with a shark. But it really works, because you feel for her. This is a terrible situation she's in, and it's like you don't really see any good ways out, so you're like just kind of rooting for her to get out of this situation. And I think it's just a nice simple survival tale. It's not trying to be Jaws. It's not trying to be this really complex plot driven movie.
And it's nice too because not give anything away, when she does decide she just needs to fight back, that's the only way she can survive. It never feels like over the top or cartoony, like I'm gonna fight to survive or something silly like that.
It's just out of necessity.
It's very real, and it's like it's how we learned she was raised by her mother to be like that, and it's also like it's out of necessity, and like you said, and it feels right for the character that we've seen from her. One of my this isn't even a technical thing. This is something I don't know why they had in the script so many times. They keep making a big deal about what is the name of this little cove. They keep bringing it up like it's going to be a big reveal at the end that it's Shark Attack Cove or...
No, I think because she wants to know...
Dead Man's Cove or something.
She wants to know because that's where her mother was. She wants to know where she is.
No, I understand that.
But I think the reason they never reveal it is because, it's not a real place. That's probably the number one reason that
Pick up a name. I guess.
I just think it didn't matter.
If you're gonna bring it up so many times, it was kind of odd that it never pays off for anything.
I guess.
It almost feels like it's supposed to pay off, but then it never does.
It didn't bother me that much. In the trailer, they call it Paradise. The Mexican guy, that's what he refers to it as.
Sure.
I don't know if that was just edited out or something. I don't know. But again, it doesn't really bother me all that
it's
much.
fine. And then, of course, throughout the movie, we get other characters showing up. We get a drunk guy showing up who steals her phone and her wallet.
And then tries to steal her surfboard.
And then gets eaten.
Torn in half.
Because
he's crawling up on the beach.
That's horrific.
Yeah.
What's this movie rated? I didn't
PG-13.
check. Okay. It's PG-13.
Same rating as Jaws. So
basically the same rating as Jaws, yeah.
Essentially what Jaws would be rated today.
It would totally be PG-13. That's true.
Similar level of gore, yeah. I think you can get away with some of it.
You know, with some gore and PG-13.
Boy, we got to talk about the MPAA one of these times, though, because that would be fun.
I would love to.
Watch This Film Is Not Yet Rated already.
I should watch that, and then we'll talk about the MPAA, sure. But yeah, The Shallows. Yeah, there's a few deaths. You know, these guys that were surfing with her before they come back, and of course they get taken.
Yeah, they get killed.
I don't know. I guess I remember the first time I saw this movie, I didn't like that I guess they don't really give anything away
in the opening. They show her broken surfboard, and they show that the video camera had made it to shore.
And that bothered me the first time. I don't remember exactly why, because obviously I saw this a year ago when it came out. But I think rewatching, I was like, it doesn't really give that much away. You know,
I don't think
it's not like it doesn't give away that she's alive survived. Or something.
No, it doesn't do that.
So I'm okay with it, but I don't know. Just brought that up, but yeah, it's a good setup. Honestly, it's a pretty solid little horror movie. I mean, it's isolated, like you said, which I like. You know, it adds more to the terror. It's like they can't easily get out of the situation, so it's more suspenseful. I kept waiting for the, I guess, quote, Jaws moment where the shark would leap onto the island and try to get her.
Which he does on the buoy.
It does briefly. That's true. And the buoy, yeah.
Yeah, which sharks don't really do. But it makes it scarier. Yeah. So
absolutely.
You know what? You don't see this as like a shark movie. You just see it as a survival movie with sharks in it. You know.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that it works.
It didn't feel like we're just trying to clone Jaws like so many of those other movies do.
Well, yeah, the producers kind of wanted this to be Jaws for the new generation. That's kind of what they said.
Yeah.
And I think that...
I believe Jamaica Lacer said he wanted to remove himself as far away from Jaws as he could.
Yeah, he said he wanted
makes perfect sense.
He said he wanted to make it a survival movie, which is what it really is, at its heart.
I also learned Blake Lively apparently had not seen Jaws, which I thought was funny. And I was like, well, you should maybe rectify that. Yeah. Please.
Actually, absolutely. But, but yeah, I mean, I think the movie really works. Do you have any problems with it?
Nothing big, honestly. I think the reason, I guess, when I compare it to Jaws, it's like that has more character that I like. Her character, well, it's hard because she's one character, like we said.
And it's a survival movie, so it's a kind of different type
absolutely.
of movie.
It's absolutely different. So it's hard, and it's almost unfair to compare them.
Directly,
I will say, I wish they came up with some sort of better score, because it's just kind of like there, but it's not there.
I kind of like the score. It's very moody, and it's done by the guy who did the Hurt Locker score, which is a very similar kind of moody,
I like that
atmospheric
score, I think.
Yeah, I actually like the score here.
I'm not saying rival with Jaws. That'd be impossible.
It's a different type of score.
But
but it's moody and atmospheric, which I like. I like those kind of subdued scores.
It's fine. It's just, I guess, it's not as memorable, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Well, than the Jaws theme, but I actually thought the moodiness was better than the other Williams stuff.
Okay.
In evoking that kind of that tone correctly. Yeah, I guess my biggest problem is the epilogue. I know why it's there because it's stupid audiences want.
Yeah, there's that too.
You know that shot fades out. It's like that should be the end of the movie.
Just let it be the end, like Jaws. We don't need the epilogue where they're back.
It's already hinted. There's hints in the movie that she's going to be a doctor again. We don't need to hear that. We don't need to know.
We can just assume, yeah.
Because in the movie, I should explain, she is dropping out from school, and she's like quitting school
because what happened to her mother.
Her mom died from cancer, and she thinks, well, what's the point of saving people's lives if my mother's life couldn't be saved? But then this whole movie is about her saving her own life and using some of her knowledge as a doctor to do that. And then she does also save the seagull, which I think is kind of actually evocative of her, being a perfect doctor,
But you don't need that epilogue where she's like...
We don't need to know.
Yeah.
Because...
We get to see her lying on the beach. Maybe she's alive. Maybe she's dead.
But no, we can get that she's alive. I mean, that's what we see in the...
Oh, sure. Movie. Yeah, I guess we do.
But we don't need the 1 year later stuff.
We don't need that with her sister going out to surf. Like, oh, she still likes surfing. It's okay. It didn't traumatize her for life.
It's like we get the end of the...
We don't care.
I just think it would have been best if they ended it there. But,
yeah.
And then the other thing is they do use like a pop song a couple of times, and I just think it's really distracting.
That usually is in movies, especially horror movies. It always feels out of place, unless it's like maybe a slasher movies. I'm all more okay with when they're like, say going to the campground or going to wherever they're going to. Then it's fine, but
So I just prefer
it's
giving
weirdly
the
set in there.
I just prefer giving the composer more material to work with.
Yeah.
And a lot of movies do this. You know, it works in some movies. You know, like The Nice Guys, it works, but
Well, that movie is made for pop songs, absolutely.
but in other senses, it just doesn't work as well. So that's all I'm saying. But yeah, overall, I think it's a really effective movie, and it's a great survival movie, and it's just kind of what I want to see in a survival movie with great acting and very well made film.
Yeah.
Which is just what I need, you know?
It's a perfect, like, okay, you just watched Jaws, you want to watch another shark movie, and you don't really like Jaws 2. I like Jaws 2, so I'm not with you on that one. But, you know, watch The Shallows. It's a perfect second shark movie.
Well, I would just say, just watch it as a survival film, because that's what it is.
Or that.
You know?
Absolutely.
And it's just another one of those type of movies, you know? It's not the greatest one ever made, but it does a good job. And, again, the most important element being that it's very well directed, and then the acting is great. Because, you know, if you're not behind your protagonist and you don't want them to survive and you don't like them, you're not going to feel
they're not interesting
nearly as much into the movie.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we get that she's like we get her character very early on. It's very well established before she gets attacked by the
And she has some nice Skype scenes with her dad and her sister.
Yeah.
And they're actually pretty good actors.
I watched the deleted scene, and I'm happy they cut this, because I think it would have been a little... I don't know. I don't want to say distracting, but I don't think it would have been the best idea, where she makes one last Skype call before going back in the water, and her sister sees the shark fin behind her. And she notices it after she's hung up, and so she tries to call back, but Blake Lively's already in the water.
Yeah, that would have been a little too much.
I think it's too much. Sister shouldn't know. Yeah. It's fine.
That would maybe work, like in sort of the Visit type way, but... Mm-hmm. Which, I'm not spoiling that. Sorry.
No, but we're going to have to talk about the Visit. We'll talk about Shyamalan sometime.
Yeah,
I'm sure I'll figure out a way.
Whenever he makes the third Unbreakable movie.
That's true.
Yeah, so overall, I'm going to give the movie an 8 out of 10. I think it's a very well made.
An 8 out of 10 too. Movie. So 4 stars on a
4 stars
on my scale.
Same thing. Yeah, 4 stars. It's a very well made and fun and thrilling disaster or survival movie, I should say.
I still got scared by it second time watching it. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm sure it'll be like Jaws, where it's not as scary in the moment.
Just watch it 50 times and then...
Well, it's not as watchable as Jaws, so I don't think I will. But I will watch it again, of course, in summer.
That's a good movie.
Yeah, these are the perfect movies for summertime. Now, let's get to...
Boy, yeah, we've been going a while.
Yeah, let's get to it.
Let's get to 47 Meters Down. We just saw it in theaters.
Yep, it just came out. Now, did you look up any facts on this? Because I didn't get to this one.
No, I didn't really care that much to either.
Okay, great. Well, it's a recent film, and all I know for sure is it was a shelved script until The Shallows came out and made bank, and they were like...
I was thinking that's what it was.
No, it's a shelved film. It was filmed. And then they were like, ooh, The Shallows made bank. Let's release this. And then we got 47 Meters Down, which...
So when did they film it?
Like a year or two ago, a couple years ago.
And they just were sitting on a shelf?
I guess.
That's really funny.
They were like, whatever. I think they were going to
original distributor, Dimension Films, had initially set a North American DVD and VOD release date.
That's right.
So it's supposed to be on, like, video, DVD, direct-to-video, which it kind of looks like it is supposed to be direct-to-video. It looks better in the movie than it did in the trailer for some reason.
It does.
But...
Well, let's give a quick plot summary, I guess.
Okay. Remember that scene with Richard Dreyfuss in the shark cage? Well, that's
a whole movie where the shark cage drops 47 meters down, and there's another character with Richard Dreyfuss.
So just combine that scene with The Shallows, and you got 47 meters down.
Imagine Roy Scheider's in there or something. There you go.
Okay, that's the movie.
Yeah, that's 47 meters down. So I guess getting into it, I found this movie to actually work, honestly. I like the atmosphere setup of it. I just find the ocean scary, and I have this thing like, yeah, it would be beautiful to go scuba diving, but I'm terrified of going scuba diving, so I don't think I would ever do it, because there are so many things in the ocean, sharks specifically, that can sneak up on you where you're not looking. Yeah. And this movie plays with that. It doesn't play with a lot else besides sharks, obviously, but does play with the isolation factor and the fact that it's really murky underwater in certain parts.
That's true.
So you don't really see a lot in front of you. There's a great scene where one of the girls is trying to get to a flashlight, and she has to go over this drop-off and to get to it, and it is terrifying because you're just waiting for a shark to come up from underneath her or something to come up and attack her. And it builds tension. Now, a big problem with this movie, a very big problem.
Well, do you want me to jump in?
Sure, go ahead, actually.
My biggest problem in the movie is the acting.
I was going to say it too.
It is pretty standard, substandard.
It's standard horror movie fare. It's like a slasher movie kind of acting.
It feels like direct-to-video acting, you know?
Or I would say standard horror slasher movie acting.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, what I'm saying is it's very important to get, in a survival film, to get actors who know what they're doing. You know, this is why, you know, with survival movies, they cast people who, like James Franco, Ryan Reynolds, Blake Lively, very talented actors because they have to carry the movies on their own because they're in an isolated spot. Or Castaway, you know, Tom Hanks. It's another great example. These two, first of all, I hadn't even heard of either of them. Don't know like anything they've done. I don't think I've seen them.
Mandy Moore was in Walk to Remember. I looked up both of them, and that's the only movie I've heard of. Unfortunately, okay. I've heard of that. And the other one has done Mean Girls 2 and The Messengers 2. Both
because I've seen
films.
Those.
Yeah. So they're basically, they haven't done really anything.
And they're not it's not very talented. There's awkward line readings throughout. There's just kind of bad, you know, character interaction between them. You know, this is just a very standard type movie when it comes to the characters, and there's nothing really to root for or like about them, you know? Like, they're trying to give this emotional subplot, which fell to a low forest, about one of them getting broken up by their boyfriend, and then they had to, like, you know, move on, so they're on this trip to try and have fun or something. I don't know. It just was really convoluted and kind of dumb, and, yeah, there were things about this movie I didn't like. So, but overall, I think that the movie did enough things that were cool and did enough things that I liked, and the effects were good enough. Not great, not quite as good as The Shallows, but good enough where I gave it a pass. Specifically, I'll talk about the things I like, and then maybe you can jump in. I like that they try and give some science into the movie. So there's a reason why they can't come to the surface. You know, because you think, why don't you just go to the surface? Because they're going to...
What was it called again?
The bends.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is where there are bubbles in your body that get formed by compression, and then if you surface too quickly, those bubbles are going to basically cause you to be sick because it's too fast. Now, the movie pretends like it's going to kill them like instantly. It's not really how the bends works in reality, but it was an interesting thing to include, and I was going with it for the sake of the movie. The other thing that they kind of established is when they run out of oxygen, they try and give them new oxygen tanks. However, you can get something called narcosis, and what this is if you have too much nitrogen exposure, you can get sick off the nitrogen and cause hallucinations and other things to happen. So it was kind of cool that they included some scientific things into the movie and made it more, you know, believable because of that, the premise, you know. But yeah, I don't know, anything particularly stand out to you?
Again, like I said, I got into this movie. I feel like I got into it a little more than you did. This is my kind of... I like genre horror, you know. I'm a genre guy. I love horror, so this is kind of my thing. If a horror movie can get away with some bad acting if the premise is interesting or scary, and I find this premise scary. Again, it'd be scary to be stuck.
Yeah, I mean, movies can have gotten away before, like Blair Witch Project, without like Academy Award winning acting.
Sure, they are terrible actors in that movie.
But what I'm saying is the other problem with this movie is it's so standard otherwise. You know, it's basically The Shallows all over again. But The Shallows is better in every way. There's nothing that's better about 47 Meters Down than The Shallows. So why would I watch this movie over The Shallows? You know, that's what it comes down to. It's, you know, another shark survival movie with somebody trapped in a
understand that. It's
isolated spot.
Except for they're underwater, I guess.
Which is too small of a change to be significant.
Okay, fair enough. I understand that. And I'm not.
But I want to hear your defense of it. I want to hear why you.
I'm not going to say this is better than The Shallows.
Yeah, but why is it? Why would you still watch this in addition to The Shallows? Like what makes
Because
it
it's
what makes
still-
it different enough?
Just because
Besides the
of
slight
the
location
primal
change.
fear of being underwater is actually terrifying. And
Well, there are other movies that do that better too, like The Abyss.
I think the sharks actually they do look good. They
look fine.
They're enough
better
to
than
scare
Sci-Fi
me.
Channel.
Well, yeah, they're.
But what I'm saying
a lot
is
of things are better than
that's
Sci-Fi
that's
Channel.
enough for a 6 out of 10. You know what you're saying. But what makes it higher than that for you? What makes this movie and the direction and the acting and the anything like that gives it that?
I think there are
edge?
some honestly beautiful shots, even though it's like creepily beautiful shots. I like the initial stuff when they're in the cage, just in awe of these beasts swimming around them. It is really cool. It almost does make me kind of want to do that, even though I'd be terrified, especially because of the next moment when the rope breaks, obviously, or the winch breaks. But it's a pretty good. It's not bad cinematography for this kind of movie. Like, it's not nothing phenomenal,
No,
but
it's
it
impressive
does
that
look
they shot all
nice.
this underwater, presumably. So I'll give you that.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess it worked for me is what it did. It's the kind of movie I put on when I want to watch a fun but kind of creepy horror movie, I guess. I'd put it along the lines of, like, say, Jaws 2. Mm-hmm. I think I could defend Jaws 2 a little more than this one, I'll admit. But it's like, yeah, Jaws is better. The Shallows are better. I'd probably watch both of those more. But I would still pop this in and be like, you know what? I can have fun with this movie.
I wasn't bored during the movie, but I would have trouble ever justifying watching it again because now I've seen it. The one interesting thing, I'll try and keep spoilers out of this one, considering it's a new movie, it's still in theaters and all that.
That's what I'm.
But there is like a little bit of a twist where it's like, oh, that's interesting that they went there, and I was waiting for that type of twist to happen, and
I kind of figured out that it was happening, but I still liked that they did it, and I think it still worked.
Yeah, I think there are a couple problems with it, but overall, I applaud them for doing it, I guess, not making it too standard. But yeah, I mean, again, overall, I would just lean to The Shallows if I wanted to watch a movie like this. I think that's pretty fair.
I understand that, but, this is perfectly fine, genre fare. I found it creepy and unsettling, so yeah.
Yeah, there are stuff I like. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10.
I'd probably give it 3.5, so 7 out of 10, I guess.
So
it's a little bit more my movie.
Give it a 3-star rating.
That's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
But
okay.
Yeah.
Well, it makes sense from a horror fan like you to enjoy it.
Sure.
Yeah. So
I'm happy that unlike The Mummy, these are all 3 movies that are
none of them are bad.
Good. Yeah, none of them can be called bad.
Some are better than others, but none of them are bad. Yeah.
Absolutely, some are better than others, but I mean, yeah, and I don't think any shark movie, no matter how good it could be, could possibly get up to Jaws.
It would be very difficult for it to ever happen.
But
Jaws is still the shark movie.
That almost feels like unfair comparison, so I'll just say this. There are some pretty solid shark movies out there. They're rare. There's one I was going to watch I was thinking of watching for this called The Reef. I still want to check out. Maybe on another podcast we can do it after I've watched it.
And you've seen
gotten some
Open
good
Water,
reviews.
right?
Open Water, that's a little different, but it is also an isolation movie. It's based on a real event where a couple was forgotten during a scuba diving expedition, for lack of a better term. Like, a bunch of people just went out scuba diving, like on a boat, like one of those things, and they were accidentally left behind, and they got stuck in the middle of the ocean, and eventually they found their...
Yeah, I know. I'm wondering. We don't
stuff,
need to
but anyway,
do the whole plot.
No, sorry, because we're not talking about Open Water. Sorry,
Yeah.
But yeah, I've seen that, and I remember liking that. And there's some fun ones that I like. I would actually recommend Deep Blue Sea for a fun popcorn film. Like Twister, like just laugh at kind of movie.
Yeah, I'm just glad that they're making some serious ones again, because Sharknado 5 is just...
Oh, God. Yeah. Next year they are making one about Megalodon, which I've heard the book is really good that they're basing it on. So
is that going to be like
curious.
a really serious movie, too?
I guess, yeah. Jason Statham's supposed to be in it.
Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be really serious.
No, that's true. No, I know, but from what I've heard, yeah, it is. So it's interesting.
I guess I'll wait for that.
But, yeah, I like these kind of horror movies. We can maybe do more podcasts about killer animal movies, or I'm sure I'll get as much horror into this podcast as I can. But, yeah, I like these kind of movies, especially if you haven't seen Jaws, do yourself a favor this summer. It's the perfect time to watch it for the first time. So do that. and then go and watch The Shallows and 47 Meters Down if you want to. We'll definitely see The Shallows.
I'd recommend The Shallows the most of the two of those, but if you want to see
Over
both
Jaws?
of the two of those.
Okay, good. I thought you meant between
you gotta
Jaws and The Shallows. Sorry.
No, 47 Meters Down and The
Okay,
Shallows.
well, yes, I agree.
If you're thinking about going to see a movie and you want to see 47 Meters Down, watch The Shallows first, because I think it's a better movie.
Sure.
But yeah, I really liked Jaws, so yeah. No complaints here.
Now we just have to talk about Jaws 4.
Yeah,
that is a guilty pleasure. That is a so bad it's good movie. I love that
Not today.
movie.
It's not happening today. Anyway,
Okay,
thanks
sorry.
so much, guys, for listening. Again, like, comment, and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, that would be awesome. Again, expect these every Saturday. We're going to get these up as much as possible. So, yeah, we really appreciate you guys listening. Thanks so much again. Until next time.
Show me the way to go home.
That's a good way to end it. All right.
All right.
Thanks.